All right, let's get it. Drive time. Friday afternoon. And my goodness, is it a beautiful spring day outside? It's about 65 degrees and sunny here in downtown Salt Lake City, Utah. And by downtown Salt Lake City, Utah, I mean downtown Salt Lake City, Utah, because we are out and about. Now, here's the deal. You guys need to get here as soon as you can. It's Friday. Go tell your boss to shove it. You can tell him I said that. Be like, hey, Mr. Brown or whatever, Spence told me that I could tell you to shove it on a Friday. Now, if you lose your job, I am not responsible for that, but here's why you need to tell him to shove it. It's a historic day, and we're celebrating. It is the first home playoff game for the Utah Mammoth tonight. The Stanley Cup playoffs have made their way to Salt Lake City, Utah, and it's time to get ready for the game. Okay, so it's time to get ready in the right way. We are at Epic. Now, Epic Brewery has opened up a brand new spot in back, and I gotta say, if you haven't seen it, it is awesome. We got cornhole going on out back. We've got the patio open and the sun is shining. We've got TVs on so you can watch the NFL draft when that gets going, and of course the Mammoth game tonight. But it's a brand new spot, and here's the deal: they're giving away hockey pucks, and by hockey pucks I mean like legitimate, like regulation Epic Brewing hockey pucks. We ran out of these things when I did this remote last year. So I would get here as soon as you can. And here's what you have to do. Come find me in the back and look at me and just say, puck you. Okay? Now, say it with a P because this is a family-friendly show. I want you to say puck you to me, and I'm going to hand you a hockey puck. A beautiful regulation hockey puck with the Epic Brewing logo on it, in preparation for tonight's game, as the Mammoth will try to take a 2-1 lead over the Vegas Golden Knights. So here's the deal. It's Epic Brewing. It's 825 South State Street. You can't miss us. We're right downtown. You'll pull into the parking lot. You'll see the ESPN 700 van. Excuse me. And then you'll walk into the Epic Brewery that you're accustomed to, that's been around for a number of years, but it is a new spot in back that they just opened. So come on by, have some suds, have a couple of pops. If you're not into that, they've got soda, water, all the things that you need if you're not necessarily looking to and buy. But we are getting ready for the Mammoth game tonight with our friends at Epic Brewing. We also have 2-day passes to the Red West Festival. It's a music festival. That dude Shabuzi is in it. I don't really know anybody else in it, but if you're a Shabuzi fan, we have you taken care of that way. They've got a brand new Utah Hip Check Ice Lager. It's 7.5%, so maybe put a cap on 2 of those. It's an Imperial Lager, and celebrate NHL playoff hockey here in Utah. So come on by. It's a huge bar expansion. It's a brand new experience, outdoor patio, new beers on draft, and then liquor and wine available too if you're looking to get super loose. Perfect new space to enjoy NHL playoff hockey, watch parties, and pick up your favorite Epic stouts, ales, pilsners, and lagers, including the new Utah Hip Check Ice Lager, a 7.5% Imperial Lager. Of course, we are getting you ready for the Mammoth game, and we have pucks for you. We got a bunch, but we ran out last time, so I would say come by as soon as you can. Epic Brewery, 825 South State Street, here in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City, Utah. All right, round 2 of the NFL draft gets going tonight, and we will bring that coverage to you as soon as we sign off the show. Round 1 saw a few surprises. Porter called it. 9 offensive linemen off the board. 9 offensive linemen taken in the first round. And, of course, including our very own Spencer Fano. He did end up in Cleveland, as we thought he might, but it was a trade. So the Browns did a really, really good job, I think, in this draft. They traded down, and they still got their preferred offensive linemen. And ultimately, I would say 2 teams are being very, very clear about their directives of simply planning to get quarterbacks next year. I think the Browns are one of them. They drafted Casey Concepcion at number 24 out of Texas A&M, a very dynamic wide receiver. And I think the New York Football Jets are the other one that essentially trying to stockpile some young players in preparation for drafting a quarterback next year. Now, Caleb Lomu, my goodness. Caleb Lomu does end up going in the first round. He goes to the New England Rossinis. That was rude. I'm a Jets fan, but I can't stand the Patriots. But a good landing spot for Caleb Lomu. He is now a Patriot. So we'll go over some storylines from round 1 of the NFL Draft. Utah history in the making, Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu, both first-round picks. Good night for the Big 12. 6 first-round picks for the Big 12, including the number 2 pick overall, as David Bailey lands with my New York Football Jets. I was on the sideline when Texas Tech was in town last year, and Utah had one of the best offensive lines in the country, and David Bailey did whatever he wanted to do. So a good pick for my Jets. Arvell Reese falls, quote-unquote, to the Giants. The Giants now have 4 or 5 awesome pass rushers on their roster. We'll see if they do something. And maybe the biggest surprise, and a lot of body language experts on social media wondering if Sean McVay was on board, but Ty Simpson, the Alabama quarterback, who at one point wasn't even thought to be a second-round pick, he's now a L.A. Ram as they snag him at number 13. Causing Sean McVay to say very quickly, this is Matthew's team, meaning Matthew Stafford. But look, he might be in the final year or 2 of his deal. We have seen this before. Now, the last time a team had a quarterback who won MVP and then drafted a quarterback the next year, that was 1967. That was the Packers. But speaking of the Packers, it wasn't too long ago where Aaron Rodgers was aging and also doing a little bit too much ayahuasca. I'm going to go out on a limb there. So they grabbed Jordan Love out of Utah State for their contingency plan. So the NFL Draft, so much fun. And, of course, we are your home for not just the NFL but football, period. And that is becoming more and more obvious and prevalent that if you want to talk football, if you want the biggest and best college and pro football games or storylines, there's really only one station in town that does that now. That's us. So when we say goodnight at 6 o'clock, we're going to bring you round 2 and round 3 coverage of the NFL Draft. As I referenced, history in the making tonight. Can the Utah Mammoth take a 2-1 lead over the Vegas Golden Knights in their first foray into Stanley Cup playoff play? This game is at home. It's at 7:30. Your television touch points are TBS and HBO Max. There is no radio coverage of the Golden Knights, unfortunately. So 7:30, drop of the puck tonight, as the Utah Mammoth will take on the Golden Knights here in Salt Lake City, Utah. NBA playoff action continues tonight. The New York Knicks are in trouble. The Denver Nuggets are in trouble. Some high seeds now facing some deficits. And Rudy Gobert is playing excellent basketball. It's not a surprise to us to watch Rudy play dominant defensive basketball here in Salt Lake for 8 or 9 years. But he has given Nikola Jokic fits. And the Timberwolves now have a 2-1 lead over the Denver Nuggets. And that series will play one more game in Minnesota before returning to Denver. The Raptors beat the Cavs. I don't know that it means much. It does mean that they won't get swept. Cleveland leads that series 2-1. And C.J. McCollum, once again, coming up clutch, hit a big-time pull-up jumper with about 8 seconds left. The New York Knicks with 2 atrocious offensive possessions down the stretch. And Quinn Snyder and the Atlanta Hawks lead the New York Knicks 2-1 now in that Eastern Conference series. We move to tonight with some compelling matchups and storylines. Victor Wembanyama is listed as questionable, which is surprising. My guess is he does not play. But the Spurs are at the Moda Center in Portland as that series is tied at 1 game apiece. Kevin Durant listed as questionable tonight with an ankle injury, as the Lakers will try to take a 3-0 lead of the Houston Rockets. Can the Philadelphia 76ers continue to make the Boston Celtics uncomfortable, as that series is deadlocked at 1 game apiece? So, a lot to do, busy show, so much going on. RSL, of course, has been a historic week for our local soccer club, welcoming in Lionel Messi and Miami on Wednesday. And Miami was able to leave with a 2-0 win. RSL back at it on Sunday. It's going to be a Sunday kick in Los Angeles against the Galaxy. That will come your way at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, and it can be seen on Apple Television. So there you go. All right, we'll do some NBA playoffs right out of the gates today with Howard Beck, one of our favorite writers from The Ringer. We'll talk NBA playoffs. We'll talk some potential NBA offseason storylines, get his thoughts on the current state of the Utah Jazz. So we'll bring Howard in right off the bat. Adrian Denny, one of our favorites from the Mammoth radio hockey team. He'll stop by at 3 o'clock. He'll be live at the Delta Center, so he'll give us a little bit of a look in and then also a preview for tonight's game between the Mammoth and the Golden Knights. I'm going to head down there. I'm excited. Stanley Cup playoff hockey is second to none, so excited to bring in Adrian Denny today. Kick the tires with our buddy Craig Bowler-Jack, the TV voice of the Utah Jazz. And then Pablo Mastroeni, the head coach of RSL, will be our guest later on. We'll look back at the Messi experience. We'll look ahead to the LA Galaxy, and we'll talk about his team's 5-2-1 starts as they're fifth place in the West now. They're tied with Seattle for fifth, but a game in hand over some teams in front of them. All right, reminder, we're live today here at Epic Brewery, right downtown Salt Lake City, Utah. You better get here. You better get here quick. The patio is open. The sun is shining. We got folks playing cornhole. We've got suds flowing if you want a beer on a Friday afternoon, and we're giving away hockey pucks. They're really nice Epic Brewing hockey pucks, and they're legitimate. It's not one of those plastic pucks. I mean, it is a official NHL playoff puck, courtesy of our friends at Epic Brewing. It's a brand new place, okay? So 825 South State Street. Throw that in your GPS. You're going to pull into the parking lot. You'll see the ESPN 700 van. Walk into their front entrance, which is what you're familiar with if you like Epic Brewery, and then they're going to take you out back to a brand new space that I'm telling you is going to manifest itself as one of kind of the go-to hangs in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's beautiful, brand new patio, brand new beer. Their Utah Hip Check Ice Lager, 7.5% Imperial Lager, and celebrate NHL playoff hockey in Utah. Howard Beck, Adrian Denny, Craig Bolerjack, Pablo Mastroeni, me, Spence Checketts, all of you, the great listeners. Happy Friday. Congratulations. You made it. You made it to the weekend. It's weekend time, and it's going to be a great weekend at that with NHL hockey, NBA playoff basketball, a little golf if you're into such things. And just a couple of miles away, if that, at our Broadway Media Studios, is Porter Larson, who called it. 9 offensive linemen taken in the first round, a NFL draft record. You were correct, young fella.
Yeah, it's just a look at the tackles and interior linemen that were available, just kind of what you would expect. 2 of them from Utah. And, yeah, if you listened to the end of the show last night, you wouldn't have even needed to watch the draft. You knew exactly where Spencer Fano and one Caleb Lomu were going. But, hey, that's what we do here, Spence. We talk some football, talking some draft, and we have the draft for you right after we say goodnight at 6 o'clock.
Yes, we do. So stay tuned. We will be on air until 6 tonight, live here at Epic Brewery in downtown Salt Lake City, Utah. And when we say goodnight, live coverage of rounds 2 and 3 of the NFL draft, as we are your home for football in the market. All right, Howard Beck's going to be our first guest right out of the gates today. But before Howard stops by, courtesy of our friends at IFA Country Stores, it's time now for your opening tip. Now, spring is here. You can feel it. And like any good coach, it's time to put together your game plan for a healthy green lawn this year. So turn to the experts at IFA. You can check out their 4+ lawn care program at ifa.coop. Okay, broadcasting live today with a good friend, good partners, our friends here at Epic Brewing. That's where you need to come. At 825 South State Street. Again, brand new bar expansion, outdoor patio, beers on tap, liquor, wine available in a very cool new space. And we're giving away free Epic branded hockey pucks all day long, okay? So they're going to have a watch party tonight for the Mammoth game. If you're not lucky enough to go down there, you should roll out here with some friends and check out their new Utah Hip Check Ice Lager at 7.5% Imperial Lager with our good friends at Epic today. So come on down and say hello. We would love to catch up with you. Good guest list on the program because we have a lot to cover on the show today. We're going to start things off with Howard Beck in just a little bit. We'll do some NBA playoffs, Adrian Denny for some Stanley Cup playoffs, Craig Bolerjack, Pablo Mastroeni, busy show. But round 1, NFL draft in the books, and some really interesting storylines have manifested themselves. So there are still 8 NFL teams that have not made a pick yet because so many teams had multiple picks. The Jets had 3, and then 7 teams had 2. San Francisco officially on the clock with the number 33 pick after they traded out of the first round. Okay, so we'll get to some of the potential storylines of day 2 because there are a lot of really, really good players left on the board, a ton of talent. But some of the takeaways from day 1, namely, our local players. We thought we would see some history made, and we did, as the University of Utah saw Spencer Fano off the board, a top 10 pick. He goes number 9 to Cleveland. Cleveland traded down, and they still were able to get Spencer Fano, which is really interesting. They made a trade with the Chiefs. The Chiefs went from 9 to 6, and the Browns were able to grab Spencer Fano even though they were down at 9. So the draft became a little bit interesting right out of the gates. There was no intrigue at 1. Everybody knew that Fernando Mendoza was going to be off the clock to the Raiders, and Tom Brady, one of the owners, giving his blessing to make that pick. But all of the prediction markets prior to the start of the draft had the New York Jets taking Arvell Reese, the pass rusher, the linebacker, very dynamic player out of Ohio State. And I like that they went David Bailey as a Jets fan. You know, when Texas Tech was here playing Utah at Rice-Eccles Stadium, I was on the sideline, and as we all know, Utah had not just the best offensive line in the Big 12, one of, if not the best offensive lines in all of college football, allowing the Utes to be the best rushing football team in the Big 12 and one of the best rushing football teams in the country. And no one could do a thing with David Bailey. He just did whatever he wanted. He was disruptive. He was able to get to the quarterback. He's a dynamic edge rusher, and that's what you need today in pro football. Now, the Jets, like the Browns, I think have indicated to everybody, like, we're going to draft a quarterback next year. There are a few quarterbacks still available. We'll get to that in a moment as far as what we could see in the second and the third round. But most draft experts believe that next year is the draft where, maybe 3, 4, 5 legitimate franchise-type quarterbacks would be available. So the Jets with 3 first-round picks, they go David Bailey at 2. And I like what they did later on because they also added some pieces potentially for a future quarterback. Now, Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, a tight end, didn't even visit with the Jets and was surprised when he got the phone call because by all accounts the Jets didn't think he would be there at 16. Okay, so they grab him at 16, and then at 30 they were able to grab Omar Cooper Jr., the wide receiver out of Indiana. So they'll give their future quarterback a couple of weapons and a tight end and a wide receiver. And, of course, getting a dominant edge rusher in David Bailey is also a great thing. I also believe Cleveland has indicated to everybody that we are building this year to take a quarterback next year. They do not have the answer on the roster. Sorry, Mel Kiper Jr., it's not Jador Sanders. So I think Spencer Fano is probably going to be playing for a bad football team this year by design in order to maybe grab a quarterback in next year's draft cycle. The Giants were fortunate that Arvell Reese slid to 5. But here's the interesting thing. That was just simply okay, we think he's the best player available because they have Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, in addition to Brian Burns. I mean, they've got a ton of awesome pass rushers on their roster already, and now they add another one in Arvell Reese. But I think at that point, most people believe that he would be off the board because there were some surprises. People were surprised that the Jets went David Bailey over Arvell Reese. All the reporting that the Cardinals were actually looking at Jeremiah Love actually ended up becoming true at 3. So a running back is taken in the top 3, and only Saquon Barkley and Trent Richardson over the past 20 years are running backs that have been taken in the top 3 because that position is not necessarily thought to be as valuable as it was once upon a time. You can get good running backs later on in the draft. But the Cardinals indeed went Jeremiah Love at 3, and then Carnell Tate off the board at 4 to the Titans. I mean, look, take a wide receiver from Ohio State. It's probably going to work out. But most people thought Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State would be the first wide receiver taken. He was taken at 8 to the Saints, which I think is a really good pick for them. But Arvell Reese just kind of fell into the lap of the New York Giants. And even though they have 3 or 4 really good pass rushers on that roster, it felt like they had to do it. And so they did. And I think that ends up being a good pick for them. Porter Larson's Dallas Cowboys came away from the night as one of the big winners. They went defense, as we thought they would. They're going to continue probably in that direction with an inside linebacker maybe being their target coming up in the second or the third round. Caleb Downs, most people believe, is one of the best, not just safeties available, but one of the best players available. And Dallas gets him at 11, the safety out of Ohio State. And then they go Malachi Lawrence out of UCF, an edge pass rusher at 23. So Dallas, of course, as we know, over the past 4 or 5 years, one of the best offensive teams in all of pro football, but it's on defense where they really need to stock some pieces, and they did that. As I referenced, Caleb Lomu does go off the board in the first round at 28 to the New England Patriots. So 2 Utes off the board, history made by Utah football with Spencer Fano at 9. And also Caleb Lomu at 28 to the Patriots. So we move over to the second round tonight, where, as I referenced, as of now, the San Francisco 49ers are on the clock. They traded out of the first round in order to have the first pick in the second round. Now, the question becomes, with a team like the Cardinals needing a quarterback, could we see Carson Beck off the board? Are we going to see another quarterback taken potentially in the second round? Again, it is not a great quarterback draft. Jacob Rodriguez of Big 12, we're talking about some of the Big 12 kids. I don't know when we're going to hear Logan Fano or potentially any of the BYU guys like a Jack Kelly or like a Chase Roberts, Dallin Bentley out there as well. So a ton of talent left on the board for round 2 and round 3. A very exciting round 1 in the books, though. And don't forget, when we say goodnight, coming up at 6 o'clock, we are going to bring you rounds 2 and rounds 3 of the NFL draft right here on ESPN 700. But the Utah Mammoth are in action tonight. You might know my next guest because she used to drop by for another company who shall not be named because she is now with Epic. Jamie, how are you, my friend?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Is that good in your ear?
Yeah.
Okay, great to see you. This is awesome.
Yeah, it turned out really well.
I mean, you told me you guys were opening up a new spot, but I got to say, I walked in, I was like, holy smokes. What do you want our listeners to know about what you have going on today?
There is a watch party for the Mammoth. We've got free hockey pucks to give away. We just released our 420 beer with the Pineapple Express Terps.
Okay.
And, yeah, we have this new space with a new bar and beer on tap now that's never been at Epic. Mm-hmm. And we can now hold about 120 people instead of 15.
The Pineapple Express beer with what? Tell me what that was again.
Terpenes.
What does that mean?
It's like an essential oil of the plant, so it doesn't have any THC or CBD in it, but it has the same smell, aroma, and flavor.
Okay, so you're going to be thinking you're drinking weed, but you're not. You're drinking beer.
Correct.
Okay, tell me about this Utah Hip Check Ice Lager.
It is wonderful. It's 7.5%, 16-ounce can, but it's very, very light, so it's kind of dangerous. You don't realize that it's 7.5%.
So maybe just 2 of those.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're an adult.
Well,
Ride share.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. All right, as far as event space, like what do you guys envision with this new space in back of Epic? What's like the hope?
Well, I have a couple craft nights lined up. We're trying to do a mini golf putt-putt league out on the patio.
Nice.
We're going to do more watch parties. We're going to try to put a projector outside and have movie nights. We've got all sorts of things planned. Sweet.
Okay. Well, look, we'll chat with you throughout the day. Thanks again for having us, okay?
Thank you.
All right, there's Jamie. We are live today here at Epic. It's brand new, but you're going to go to the same location at 825 State Street, okay? 825 South State Street is where you get specifically, okay? Put that in your GPS, follow it, and it's going to bring you to the Epic Brewery location that you're familiar with, but it's a little bit of a speakeasy vibe today, kids. You'll come in back. And there are a bunch of hockey pucks that were given away. They're like legitimate regulation hockey pucks with the Epic Brewing logo on them. Come on by and check out their new beer, their new Utah Hip Check Ice Lager, the 7.5%, and celebrate NHL playoff hockey here in Utah with our good friends at Epic. All right, we'll catch a break. We're going to get back to some draft stuff. We'll keep you up to date, of course, on any of the rumors regarding some of the local players still on the board. But NBA playoffs rolling along. So coming up on the other side, our friend Howard Beck from The Ringer. We'll move over to Adrian Denny, Craig Bolerjack, Pablo Mastroeni. It is a busy Friday edition of The Drive, and it's good to have you along for the ride right here on ESPN 700. back. Got a little speakeasy situation. I'm sure Howard Beck is familiar with a bunch of Brooklyn speakeasies because he's a hipster. It's 825 South State Street. Okay, so you're going to go in front, and then you have to give them the keyword. Well, you don't. They're just going to take you in back. It's a brand new patio. We're getting ready for the Utah Mammoth hockey game tonight, so come on by. 825 South State Street. We're giving away hockey pucks, and you can try their new beers. But the NBA playoffs rolling along, and Howard Beck joins us Friday afternoon style. Howard, happy Friday, sir. How are you?
Doing well, Spence. Even better because you brought me into the war on drugs, and I think it's my favorite track of theirs, Red Eyes, so thank you for that.
Perfect. Okay, you never know. I figured I'd take a risk, but I'm glad we're off to a good start. Okay, should the New York Knicks be legitimately worried that they're about to lose this first-round series?
You know, there's the easy answer, which is, hey, you know what? It's you're down 2-1, and it's still early in the series, and the series are long. This is one of my favorite coaching lies of the NBA. It's a long series. No, it's not. If you lose 4 times, it's over, and it's not that long. That's like 10 days it could be over total. Yeah, they should be worried down 2-1, mostly because they already gave up they gave a home court advantage in game 2 with a late game collapse. The way that last night's game went, trailing the whole time, but the Knicks always have a good run in them, and then it looked like they certainly put themselves in position to win, and then again it's late game kind of misfiring and just not being able to deliver and not being able to stop C.J. McCollum again, and eventually that becomes a pattern. So, I don't want to put too much on it. It is still only 2-1. If they win tomorrow night and it's tied going back to the Garden, and now it's a best of 3 with 2 of the games at home, things feel a lot different. Things can flip very quickly in the playoffs. But I do think this is a team that, alternately has looked like a contender and a team that maybe doesn't fit that well together all season. And, when that happens in the playoffs, obviously, it's all heightened. The other thing is that the Hawks are not your average lower seed, right? Like, they began this. They were I think 19-21 at the time that they acquired C.J. McCollum. I just wrote about him, so that record is stuck in my head. They were a sub-500 team back in early January, but they have been one of the better teams for the last couple of months. And so, this is not your average, 3-6 matchup, by any stretch. And the Hawks have a lot of different ways they can beat you.
Wanted to ask you about the man who coaches the Atlanta Hawks, Quinn Snyder, who he had here for 9 years and was always really good to me. But once upon a time, when we actually had access to players, coaches, and general managers, Quinn came on my show on a weekly basis. And I will admit a little bit of a blind spot because I really do feel like there's a brilliant basketball mind in that dome. It's a little bit of a tortured mind. I think the Jazz brass used to call him John Nash, the beautiful mind character played by Russell Crowe. But what sort of job do you think he's done this year? Because his reputation certainly is as a guy who definitely is a brilliant basketball mind, but out here we just never really saw much success in the postseason. So what are your thoughts on where we're at with Quinn right now?
Yeah, and it's been a bumpy ride in Atlanta too, right? Because he came in to take over a Trae Young-centric team, and like others who preceded him, it's hard to win with Trae Young. And lo and behold, the Hawks, under their new GM, Onsi Saleh, decided to finally move on from Trae this season. And lo and behold, they look like a better team. I think Quinn's done a fantastic job with this group. You can say, well, the defense is going to be there because you've got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who was a fantastic pickup by them last summer. And you've got, Dyson Daniels, who they picked up the year before. Onyeka Okongwu, undersized center, but a guy who can guard multiple positions, so he gives you a lot of versatility. So you can say, well, they've got all this length, and throw Jalen Johnson there too. Yes, but you've got, first of all, this was a pretty young team, and a team that hasn't, up until now, didn't have a lot of playoff experience with some of its core players. And I think Quinn has done a masterful job in blending the vets that they've picked up along the way, C.J. McCollum, chief among them, with the young players. I think the one thing that from what I've heard from Hawks fans over the course of the last year or so has been this frustration, and it will fade very quickly if they win this series, but why hasn't Zachary Risacher gotten more run? Why isn't Zachary Risacher blooming yet? And it's sometimes you get a first overall pick and it's the wrong year and you make the wrong pick, and maybe Zachary Rizenshea is just not going to be a very good NBA player. But I think you've seen it out there. We've seen it in Atlanta. Quinn can certainly develop young players, and the guys who will play defense and find their role on offense will find their way under Quinn. So I'm the Rizenshea thing is an interesting, like, kind of a back burner item for them at the moment. But I think Quinn has done a fantastic job with this group. They move the ball. It's a really unselfish bunch, and they lock in on defense. And yeah, I think it's been a nice ride for him so far in Atlanta this season. After, like I said, some tough years, but I think a lot of that had to do with the way the roster was constructed.
Let's stay out east for a moment. I know you're not a huge soccer guy, but we had Lionel Messi in town on Wednesday, and David Blitzer is a part owner of our local soccer team, and of course one of the owners of Philadelphia, so he was out here for that game. And he had taken a red eye after being in Boston to be in Salt Lake for the game. So I was talking to him about this Maxey Edgecombe backcourt. Now, you and I have discussed the MB dynamic with Philly for years, and they still have 3 years of big money and a couple of years with Paul George too. I don't think Boston's in danger of losing this series, Howard, at all, but that was a pretty impressive night. And for as much as everyone knows about Tyrese Maxey, Edgecombe's just a killer. So look, there's a lot with the Philadelphia thing. What are they going to do with Embiid? Will anyone take his money? Is Paul George still a guy that can get anything done with max money for a couple of years? But this young backcourt gives them a chance, I think, to be relevant in the East for a long time. So your thoughts on the series and specifically what you're seeing from Maxey and Edgecombe?
I mean, not surprised in the sense that they've obviously been doing this all season. And, this team, the Sixers had to play a lot of the season without Embiid, a lot of the season without Paul George, especially after Paul George got that 25-game drug suspension. And so a lot has been on Maxey to be their night-in, night-out offensive engine, and he has more than met the challenge. I'm trying to remember where I put him on my All-NBA teams. I think second team. It might have been third team. But he's, he was a top 15 player this season for sure. And Edgecombe, we'll see Rookie of the Year probably results next week. And it's funny because we've obsessed over the whole Concanipple versus Cooper Flagg thing for a good reason, because one of those two is going to win, and it could be a very close race. But it should almost be a unanimous number three. I mean, no, people will go different ways. There'll be some Dylan Harper votes and maybe some others. But VJ Edgecombe has been fantastic, and in a different year could have been truly in the running for Rookie of the Year. He's super confident, super aggressive, but in the best ways possible. I don't feel like he ever is just looking for his shot alone. He doesn't have that kind of tunnel vision that a lot of flashy young guards come in with. And he and Maxey have played off each other really well. And that's not always easy, because when you've got two guys who, can both attack with the ball and score in a variety of ways, meshing them, they've got to both be willing to mesh. And I think Maxey has empowered Edgecombe, and I think Edgecombe has done a nice job of playing off of him. And you can get pretty far in this league with all that firepower, but, as we've discussed in different contexts, you do need some size and another option who, and Paul George has provided that when healthy, and Embiid provides that when healthy. So that's a wonky thing for them, because their future is clearly about that backcourt, but they do have all that money still invested in the two vets who, don't stay on the court for very long.
As a guy who's as plugged in as anybody I could probably talk to, is there any I feel like every year, maybe it's clickbait, somebody reports hey, this is the end of the Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown partnership. They want out. They're both awesome. You can play with both of them on the floor together. Obviously, they've won a championship. Help me understand why we hear this every single year. Or maybe there's something to this, Howard. I don't know. You tell me.
Has it percolated again recently? Because I don't think I've seen that or heard it for a while.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know the deal. I try not to get news off of social media. Some podcast, Hoops Tonight, whatever the hell that is, was making the rounds. But, I mean, let's say it didn't happen with this particular podcast, who's a Boston-centric dude who I don't know. It does seem like it crops up here or there. I guess what I'll say is there any smoke here at all, or is this just people looking for clicks? Okay.
I the last time I thought there was some validity to it was a few years back, and this is before they won the championship. And, maybe it was starting the year that they went to the finals and lost to the Warriors, and then certainly in the wake of that, there were a couple different pressure points that gave this life at the time. One is they're both paid at a massive amount. So, like, they're one of the first superstar duos to both be maxing out under the the newer terms, where it's like they're both making 200 and something million, and at a certain point you think, well, how long can you go with that in today's NBA environment because of all the restrictions, and it makes it hard to keep building. So there was that pressure point. The other one was that Jaylen Brown, as the number 2 for the longest time there, people around the league, were saying this to me, long ago, that Jaylen Brown sees himself as a number 1, sees himself as a guy who could lead his own team. And there was speculation around the league. And again, this is like 4 years ago already, that maybe he would want to find a way to do that. Right. But then they go to the finals. Then they go to the finals again and they win a championship. Jaylen Brown wins finals MVP. And then this season, Jaylen Brown becomes, a legit number 1 while Jason Tatum is rehabbing from the Achilles. But through it all, these two guys have been nothing but supportive of each other. Now, if people want to make the case that Jaylen Brown got a taste of it this season and now he's going to think like, well, I've got to be the number 1, and he's going to be that kind of like single-minded about it, or even you could say selfish about it, could that break them up? Like, sure. Is there any reason to think that Jaylen Brown actually wants that? Has he vocalized that? Has he indicated that with either his play or his words? Like, no, I don't think so. So I don't think there's any danger of these guys being broken up or wanting to be broken up. I don't think this is a Shaq and Kobe situation. I do think the finances are always really interesting in the NBA, and the Celtics, in the short term, addressed that by all their offseason moves last summer when they let, Porzingis and Horford and Cornette and Drew Holiday all leave. But that's the cycle now. The cycle is now, if you do have a couple of max guys, or, maybe even 3 as the Thunder will have, then, you've got to continually cycle out the role guys because you're going to bump up against the second apron.
All right, before we get out west, Orlando, as we discussed, was a mess most of the year. They were hard to watch. It was a lot of Banchero ISO and a lot of missed shots. Franz Wagner was hurt for a good portion of the season. He's a good player. He's a really good player. But Detroit bounces back game 2, and even though Orlando made it somewhat interesting in the 4th, it really wasn't. A lot of junk time stuff there. How do you see the rest of this series going? Are we kind of back where Detroit is most likely going to handle this thing rather easily?
I don't know about easily. I mean, some of Detroit's, shortcomings came to the fore in that Game 1 loss, right? Like we've been saying all season, what are they outside of Cade Cunningham? Where's the shot creation and the scoring outside of Cade Cunningham? Is there enough? And I think this series has kind of, brought that back, and the lack of outside shooting or enough outside shooting. So there's these concerns that we always had all along the way, even while they racked up 60 wins in the regular season. And the Magic are a tough matchup for them because they're just as physical, just as tough as the Pistons are, and they're going to bully their way to the basket. And it's a tough matchup. I like the way they steadied themselves in Game 2. I do think that on the flip side of it, Orlando's a team with all kinds of frailties, as you already alluded to. Like, it's a team that can get really ISO heavy, where their big pieces don't necessarily fit together. On the nights that, like, 2 out of the 3 or even all 3 of Banchero, Wagner, and Bane are clicking, they can beat anybody. And they're going to play tough defense, and they've from Suggs all the way to Wendell Carter, like they've got guys who can get into you and defend, and that's been their backbone for the last couple of years. But they're not a team with a lot of outside shooting. They're not a team with a lot of playmaking. And, so these teams have somewhat similar frailties. It's just that one of them, the Pistons, won 60 games, and the other one, Orlando, won 45, partially because of injury and partially because they don't have a Cade Cunningham. Like, it's funny because the shortcomings in the abstract sound similar, but the fact is, the Pistons have a guy who can create shots for all of his teammates, and I feel like the problem for Orlando has been and remains, they just don't have a guy who brings it all together. There's nobody to kind of settle them down or make sure that shots are getting distributed around and that it's not all just iso ball.
So I've always kind of pushed back on the narrative that Denver's in trouble when they play Minnesota because Gobert gives Jokic issues. And here's why I pushed back on it, Howard. If you go to Basketball Reference and look at splits when Jokic plays Gobert, the numbers are basically the same more often than not. But look, I'm a Rudy guy. We had him out here. Saw him play impactful basketball that impacted winning year in and year out. And, you know, every year it feels like people either forget about Rudy, don't like Rudy, and then come playoff time are reminded that he is a very impactful player. And now the T-Wolves find themselves up 2-1. And Jokic, I think the numbers are 13 for 50 against Gobert and like 2 for 18 from it's 13 for 40, 4 for 19 from 3 when Gobert is guarding Jokic. So tip of the cap to Minnesota and Rudy Gobert. Do you think they can actually get this done against Denver?
I picked Denver in 7 because I thought it would be a tough series. I'm broadly not surprised, but I am surprised at how awful Jokic has looked at times and how terrible his shooting is. I actually rewatched every Jokic. It was 26 shots last night, and some of them he's just missing open threes.
Yeah,
and in other cases he's just missing shots that he's short arming it and stuff. There are some where Gobert is to say look, do not diminish Gobert's role in this, right? Like, he is big, he's long, he's strong, he's in his face on a lot of these. He's definitely causing a lot of the misses by forcing Jokic to have to shoot over him or just being really tight on him. But there are others where it's just Jokic missing, and maybe he's wearing him down a little bit too. I think the Timberwolves, while not a team with tremendous firepower outside of Anthony Edwards, they've got enough different ways they can go, and they've got the Nuggets on their heels a little bit. Aaron Gordon missing a game is extremely concerning because the Nuggets are not great defensively, as Jaden McDaniels was quick to say this week. I don't know why he threw Gordon into that conversation because Gordon's actually a great defender, but they don't have Peyton Watson. They really need Peyton Watson and Aaron Gordon, and Watson was already out now. Gordon's missed a game, and I don't know what his status will be for the next one. But, yeah, of course the Timberwolves can win this thing.
All right, I want to give the Lakers all the credit, and they deserve the bulk of it. So, look, they're up 2-0, and no Reeves and no Luka. Look, I mean, LeBron, at this stage of his career, he's just reminding everybody, hey, just remember, I know how to do this, okay? So, Luke Kennard, go find your spots, and we're going to make you look like Ray Allen from 1999 or whatever. And, ultimately, I give L.A. the credit. Game 2, the Houston Rockets played one of the dumbest basketball games I've ever seen in my life. And maybe Durant's hurt. Maybe that's the excuse because 9 turnovers and so many of them were just so bad. That game was winnable for them down the stretch. But they blew it. And again, Lakers get the credit. Can the Rockets bounce back? Durant is questionable tonight with an ankle injury.
That part's alarming, right? They got in a hole in the first place in this series with Durant missing the first game, which we did not even know was a possibility until it actually happened. So Durant being a little banged up is massively concerning. Their youth are concerning at this point. The Rockets, before Durant got there, the whole thing was, look at this nice young team on the rise. Şengün is becoming a star before our eyes. Thompson's going to take over the league. And, they've got their playoff experience. They had that series against the Warriors last year. And I know it's different when you've got Durant in your midst. And that, I think that's part of this, too, is that they've just not really figured out how everybody can thrive simultaneously with Durant there. And they just don't have a lot of playmaking with Fred VanVleet having missed, obviously, the whole season. And so, I think that, clearly the Rockets are in trouble with or without Kevin Durant. And, but I do think that when we walk away from the series, however it goes, I think the biggest takeaway is still going to be LeBron James at 41 years old can still orchestrate an offense and be incredibly effective at milking the most out of all of his teammates. It's been a masterclass so far, and I had picked the Rockets to win this series. Obviously, that was before we knew Kevin Durant was going to miss any time. But it's just looking more and more like LeBron can still do whatever he wants, even with not a lot of talent around him. This is like, the Cavaliers of 2018 revisited, or the Cavaliers of 2007 for that matter. And in the case of the Rockets, it's just like, do these guys even want to be together? Do they even, I don't know what I'm seeing, but as you pointed out, they sometimes play very stupid basketball and look like they want nothing to do with each other.
All right, finally, it's the biggest story, so maybe we buried the lead, which I'm not supposed to do in this profession, but every year we say the same thing, like, okay, this team might win a championship with full health. This team has a chance if they can simply stay healthy. And injuries have already kind of affected the early stages of the postseason. We talked about Durant, and Victor Wembanyama is in concussion protocol. And I'll tell you what, Howard, when I was watching that game, in real time I couldn't tell what happened. Then they showed the replay, and when you're 7'70" and you have to fall that far and you crash your face as hard as he did, my first thought after seeing the replay was, did he break his jaw? Now, luckily he did not. But that makes tonight pretty intriguing. He is officially listed as questionable. I can't believe he would play. I mean, the concussion protocol thing is pretty cut and dry. And the Blazers come back from 14 down to tie that thing at one game apiece. So now we have a pretty compelling game tonight. San Antonio, Portland. So your thoughts on all of that, the Wembanyama injury, what it means for this series, can the Blazers get it done, and then what it means basically for the potential of the Spurs doing something special this playoff run?
Yeah, I mean, I would expect, and I guess he's already been ramping up and doing some light activity, so it sounds like he's on the right path. I would be shocked if he played tonight, but if he's back for the next one, obviously the Spurs still have an overwhelming talent advantage in this series, and as long as Wembanyama is out there, it's hard to see Portland winning another one. So they're going to need to get this one while they can. Super impressed by the Blazers, a young team that, obviously no playoff experience. Denny Avdia has just become a leading man over the course of the last season. And Scoot Henderson, who was supposed to be their leading man, has settled in really nicely as a complimentary scorer and playmaker. They've just done, and Tiago Splitter is not getting nearly enough credit for everything he's done, including by his new boss, the new owner of the Blazers, who apparently is looking for replacements even while they're playing in the playoffs. But that's a whole other story. The new Blazers owner. But I'd be shocked if the Spurs lost this series, because I don't think Wembanyama is going to miss more than one game. That's just a guess. But I also think that, if you took him out of the equation entirely and you had to plug in Luke Cornett, who, one of the best backups in the league and certainly capable of playing bigger minutes, he's not going to have the impact on the game that Wembanyama does. Nobody would. But between De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle and Harper and Vassell and Keldon Johnson, who just won Sixth Man of the Year, they've just got so much firepower, and they're so well disciplined. I think the Spurs have enough of an advantage to get through this, even if Wembanyama has to miss a game or two.
All right, before I say you lose, is Oklahoma City worried about anyone at this point?
Yeah, they're worried about Jalen Williams.
Yeah. Well.
So, I mean, I've taken the tack since preseason and all the way through this past week when we were doing, playoff preview type stuff, that I've been taking the field versus the Thunder overall, not because I have any doubts about the Thunder in general, but just because you're battling a war of attrition, and they've already, had a lot of injury issues this year, primarily Jalen Williams. Others have missed time too. And now here he is. I think they've listed him as basically like week to week. And they're gonna get out of the first round, no problem. But it's how much of the second round might he miss, and eventually it's going to matter. They really need him, and they're a really talented team. They're very deep, but you just don't replace a player of Jalen Williams' abilities easily. And it gets harder every round, obviously. So their biggest concern is Jalen Williams' health. After that, I do think the Nuggets at full strength. The Spurs at full strength, maybe even the Timberwolves at full strength. I mean, those are all teams that I think are capable of challenging them, and if things break right, beating them.
Howard, thanks for the time, my friend. It's been a compelling start to this fun tournament. Enjoy the games, and we'll chat soon, okay?
Sounds great, Spence. Talk to you next week.
Howard Beck from The Ringer, one of our favorites, stops by on a weekly basis to talk NBA basketball. We're going to switch gears coming up next. Adrian Denny from the Mammoth radio team is going to join us to preview tonight's game. If you cannot make it to the game tonight, I'll tell you where you should come, and that's Epic Brewery. It's right downtown at 825 South State Street. It's the location that you're familiar with, but it's a new spot that you're not familiar with in back. They just had a massive expansion. We're giving away hockey pucks. Okay, we ran out last time, so you got to hurry and come in at 825 South State Street. My friend Jamie joins us once again. All right, Jamie, you put a Utah Hip Check Ice Imperial Lager in front of me.
I did.
Tell us about this. What do you want us to know here?
It is just an awesome beer. It's really, really light, but can be a little dangerous.
Okay. And by that, you mean pace yourself.
Pace yourself.
So sip.
Yes.
Right? Who's going to be chugging a 7.5% beer anyway, right? Maybe hockey fans.
Yeah, I can say I'm not a classy person. I'll have a few of those.
I'm sure you will. So you're kind of a beer expert, right? I mean,
I don't know about that.
Well, you've been in this industry for a long time.
Yeah.
What do you like most about what Epic does?
I like that they serve their high point beers, so you can still get a taste or a sampler, whereas a lot of breweries won't do that for you. You have to buy the whole bottle, the whole can. Here you can come in and try a 13% beer and only get 4 ounces, so you're not having a horrible time.
Okay. No, I do like that. So you can come in and sample the beers on tap. And the beers on tap, that's a new feature, right?
Yes, there's never been a draft system here before.
A draft system. What exactly does that mean?
A beer on draft, the tap system.
That's okay. So ask a stupid question, you're going to get a basic response. I like it. What do you want our listeners to know about this brand new expansion in back?
It is great. There are draft beers now, which again have never been a thing. You can still do samples. We have paninis, chips. We also have a small selection of liquor, and we are doing cocktails.
Okay.
And we have canned cocktails also.
Very
cider.
nice.
Yeah,
okay.
we have a new variety of things.
So you have sandwiches now.
Yes.
Okay, I did not know that. That's key. Because you want to get a base coat in, right? Especially if you're drinking 7.5% beers, you want to eat a sandwich.
Well, and according to the DABS, we have to have 3 different types of food.
Huh. Okay, so in order to serve liquor, you have to have 3 different types of food.
In order to serve beer, even if it were a tavern license. Yep, you have to have 3 different types of food.
Okay, even if you have the sign on outside that says, like, this is a bar?
Yep.
So the 3 different types of foods are paninis, chips.
And we just have like a meat and cheese
Meat
platter.
and cheese plate.
Yep.
Such an interesting state that way, isn't it?
Yeah, the liquor laws are interesting.
Okay.
But
great.
we will also have a food truck tonight.
What time?
They should be serving at 5.
5 o'clock food truck. And then you'll have a watch party for the Mammoth game.
And then we will have the watch party and live music as well.
So we're having a party tonight is what you're saying?
Yes.
Love it. Jamie, good to see you, okay?
Good to see you.
Come on by and say hi. It's our friend Jamie. She joined us once upon a time from a different company. We're not going to say it on air because she's now with Epic. So it's Epic Brewery. It's right downtown. It's where you're familiar with their location at 825 South State Street. But it's a brand new expansion in back. Sun is shining. The patio looks awesome. They're playing a little cornhole in back. So take the rest of the day off. Let's start getting ready for the Mammoth game tonight. It is the first Mammoth playoff game in the history of the franchise. And by that, I mean 2 years. They might be spoiling us. So drop of the puck tonight is 7:30. If you can't make it down to the Delta Center, then you should watch it here with our friends at Epic Brewery. And again, they have these hockey pucks they're giving away. They're regulation, legitimate hockey pucks with the Epic Brewing logo on them. 825 South State Street, right in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City, Utah. All right, 1 hour down, 3 hours to go. We're going to catch up with Adrian Denny coming up after a quick break on a Friday edition of the program on ESPN 700. Are you playing Vanilla Ice? Because we're about to talk about hockey.
No comment.
Oh my gosh, dude. All right. I mean,
I don't know
at
that
least,
there's any other time I'd be playing Vanilla Ice.
Okay. Well, at least he's using his creative side. Porter Larson producing the show today. Adrian Denny, I'm sorry for welcoming you in with a little Vanilla Ice in the background. But how are you, man? Happy Friday.
I mean, it's not like I didn't give him my playlist last week when I was on the program, Spence. This isn't a first-time thing, right? Like, we know each other.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I just never thought I'd be coming into a segment with Vanilla Ice in the background. But nonetheless, we are not going to let it diminish our excitement, Adrian, as Stanley Cup playoff hockey will be played in Salt Lake City, Utah tonight. When I say that sentence to you, what comes to your mind?
It kind of sunk in, Spence, when I was walking back from lunch back to the arena. I come downtown right after morning skate, get settled, then I have about a 2-hour lunch, and I walk back. And usually the walk back is pretty vanilla, pretty quiet. But when I got about a block away from the Delta Center on 3rd West coming north towards the arena, you could already see people with jerseys kind of around the area, right? It wasn't empty. There was people walking into the sports bar across the street. It kind of felt like it, 2:30 in the afternoon. Something was happening here, and when I got downtown about noon, we had lots of people lined up for the jersey exchange with Vegas Golden Knights jerseys. I've heard upwards of 1,000 people to trade in their Vegas jerseys for Mammoth jerseys. So just getting started down here. And I was thinking, coming back from lunch too, like stuff that happens in Utah, it's kind of like you just kind of have to be here to get it, right? Like thinking about our first ever game back last October and the playoff runs with Stockton and Malone, like it's kind of a special thing that you only get if you're here.
Yeah, for sure. And I like to try to be live and in attendance for every single historic event possible. Sometimes you can't with the schedule. But Lionel Messi on Wednesday out at the stadium there, and I'll be there tonight sitting with the people because, unlike Porter, I'm a man of the people. My question is, though, since I will be there, Adrian Denny, do I get some sort of will they honor me? Will I have some sort of shot on the jumbotron, just saying like, "Hey, look who's here! This is how big this is."
Yeah, just hold up your rally towel and we'll get you.
Yeah.
just pick it up, hold it up, and they'll get you, man. Yeah, I'm so glad you can come. Right, it's a first time thing. Series is 1-1, but for us, this is when we're starting the series.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. Now, look, they took a lead into the third period in Game 1, so they were in it in Game 1. Then, of course, the third period got loose. What were the main differences between Game 1 and Game 2, and what allowed them to come away with the win in Game 2?
I think they just stopped worrying about the narrative and worrying about the story that, oh, boy, Vegas is big, they're physical, can Utah hang with that? And they just started playing. And when this group stops worrying about stuff, and worrying's not a great word. Worrying is what my mom does. But when you have something in your head that you're thinking about, like they just started playing and they just stopped thinking about external factors. And this group is fast, and they were able to get out ahead of Vegas and being back here at the Delta Center, that's the next big thing, Spence. It's okay. We're at home. Place is going bananas. We want to put on a show. Don't think about putting on a show. Just be yourselves. Just play fast. Just keep playing how you play in practice, how you play on the road, back here in Delta Center in this environment, because that's all they have to do. When it gets in their head like, oh, we're a playoff team, we need to put on a show at home, or, oh, gosh, it's our first season in the NHL here in Salt Lake. We've got to impress these people because there's no atmosphere like this and we have to match it. That's when I think they kind of don't perform to their best and have games where you say they're up in the third period that they don't quite close out.
So excuse me, woo, coming in hot. I always find it interesting to discover who's ready to meet the moment when the moments are bigger, when the lights are brighter. And oftentimes, the players that step up during playoff time when everything's on the line aren't necessarily the players you would expect. They're regular season heroes. Are sometimes aren't ready for the moment come playoff time because everything is heightened. And I'm not saying Logan Cooley isn't a good player. I'm saying if we had a question about who was going to be ready when the stage has been the biggest, the answer so far appears to have been young Logan Cooley. Correct? Tell me what you've seen.
Yeah, 100%. Cooley, Gunther, and Yamamoto all together. And for Cooley, it's a third overall pick. Gunther, a ninth overall pick. When he was drafted, like they're so young when they get drafted. They're 18. He goes a lot higher, right? If you do a redraft of that. And Yamamoto, who's got almost 40 games of playoff experience with the Edmonton Oilers. So that line is just kind of made for it seems. And Cooley's a guy, Spence, that he's clean cut. He's got a nice smile. He's really fast. He's got a good shot. You look at him, you're like, oh, that guy probably doesn't like to get hit. And Logan Cooley's fearless, and he's a dog, and he doesn't care if you threaten his life after game one like Nick Dowd of Vegas did. He's just going to keep coming. And I thought it was a signature playoff moment when he scored Utah's first ever goal in the playoffs on Sunday. Nick Dowd threatens his life leaving the ice after the game on Sunday, and then he comes back out with Gunther and Yamamoto and wins the Mammoth a game in the third period. So you got Cooley, Gunther. I mean, he's got his shot, but he won 2 championships as a junior player with Edmonton, right between being drafted and coming to the NHL. And these guys that Bill Armstrong goes after, they're all pretty much the exact same. Robot is probably not the appropriate word, but guys with speed, skill, and just kind of a competitive, a competitive spirit that you see with Gunther and Cooley and Kyle Yamamoto. I've equated him as kind of that. You're looking for a roommate and you got that extra bedroom and you put out an ad on Craigslist and you fill the spot, you get a guy, and then all of a sudden, he comes in, you hang out, you like him, he's funny, and all of a sudden he's just part of your group. And that's what Kyle Yamamoto has been with the Mammoth and with that line with Gunther and Cooley.
All right, apologies. Some technical difficulties out and about on remote because that's what happens from time to time. But we are back. Adrian Denny, are you there? I apologize.
No, I'm here. I thought it was me because I'm one of those people. My phone will go to the Bluetooth, and then it goes to a Bluetooth that I have no idea what it's connected to. Is all of a sudden a phone call in the middle of it just goes dark. But glad to be back, Spence. It wasn't my fault for the first time. So
it was not your fault, Adrian. Hey, I want you to look me in the eye. It's not your fault, okay? It's not your fault. Now, I will ask you to reset an answer because I just didn't hear it. We were discussing that, when the lights are the brightest, who are the ones that step up? And through 2 games, has clearly been young Logan Cooley.
Yeah, and he's a dog. Like, he just doesn't care. Like, he's not afraid of anything. And you look at Logan, and he's clean cut. He's got a nice smile. And he's an easygoing guy, and you gotta watch him play a couple times, and then you realize, oh, this guy doesn't care. He'll do whatever it takes. So, yeah, he scores Utah's first ever playoff goal, huge moment. And if you hadn't seen him play before, you're wondering, oh, but Vegas is physical, and he's a slender-built kid from Pittsburgh. How's he going to handle that? And Nick Dowd from Vegas is threatening his life after the game on Sunday as the 2 teams left. And you're like, oh, is that going to get in Logan's head? And, of course, it doesn't. And he comes back in Game 2, scores the game-winning goal out there with Gunther and Yamamoto on a speed burst where he also was crashing the net and knocked in a third chance after Gunther got denied a couple times by Carter Hart off of a beautiful stretch pass. Well, it wasn't, but a nice pass from Yamamoto in the neutral zone that was started by John Marino on a puck recovery off of a Karel Vejmelka save. So just perfect execution, exactly how you do it in practice. And Cooley was there for the slam dunk to put it home. But, yeah, you can say whatever you want to him, and he's going to talk back to you and not care, and you're not going to get in his head. And same thing with Gunther. He's like, these guys that Phil Armstrong drafts and brings in, they're all pretty much the exact same. They're skilled, they're fast, and they're gamers, and they've won at previous levels of hockey. So you look at those 2 guys and wondering how they were going to come into this. Probably the same folks that were wondering how they were going to be in the NHL before they ever first played a game.
Yeah, well said. And that, just being in the right place at the right time and putting yourself in positions to succeed is such a big part of this sport. I want to be fair to Clayton Keller, who, look, the bottom line is your first line attacking squad is going to take on the first line on the other side, the best defensive players. But we haven't seen him through 2 games just simply be the captain that we're accustomed to. And I feel like if they're going to win the series, they're probably going to need a little something from Clayton Keller, and maybe he plays better at home. But tell me what you've seen.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I think it shifts tonight because, when you go into a playoff series, we've all been around sports for so long, and it's all the same, and you're talking to your coaches, and you're overhearing stuff, and you know what game plans are going to be. And I wasn't there, obviously, in Vegas, but you know that their number one game plan going into the series was, okay, Keller, Schmaltz, and Lawson Krause are a top 10 5-on-5 line in the NHL. We got to shut them down. We got to zero in on them. And they did a great job of that. Cole Smith, Nick Dowd, and Colton Sissons, their 4th line, assigned to take care of those 3, and they did a great job of it. And that's, you know you're going to get that. Nobody's going to just let those 3 go on the ice and have an easy time of it. So coming back to the Delta Center, in hockey, you get the last change, right? So before every face-off, the road team comes out with their guys, and then head coach Andre Tourigny will see what's out there, and he'll pop out the line he wants to match up against them. So being home now with the last change, I think the Mammoth will be able to dictate things a little better. And I think if you talk to Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz about, the first 2 games, there's stuff that they would, want to adjust on coming into game 3 and 4 as the series progresses too. So I I think two big things there. I think why you'll see Keller and Schmaltz have big games 3 and 4 here.
So give me the update on Jack McBain, Adrian, because we actually saw him in game 1, and I continue to bring him up because I do think he's going to be key just because he's just a tough kid, and he's one of the top. I think this year he was 6th in the league in hits or something like that. 9 minutes of ice time in game 1. We did not see him in game 2. Any idea whether we'll see him in game 3?
Do not know. But the way they snuck him out for game 1, if they can sneak him into game 1, they can sneak him into anything because he did not skate on Sunday before game 1. The last update that we got on him was week to week, and all of a sudden he's out there taking warm-ups, and he's not necessarily taking warm-ups with the line. He was just kind of the extra guy out there. Then we got the lineups, and he was in. And, was he 100% without being – privy to medical information or being a trainer or a doctor? With the minutes he played, probably wasn't quite 100%. And for game 2, the Mammoths came back out with Liam O'Brien. But one advantage here, if you look at this series, is Utah, wanting guys like Jack McBain and Barrett Hayton back in the lineup. And Hayton's been practicing without the non-contact jersey on, which he's basically practicing at full strength. You haven't played since Tuesday. Now it's Friday. So you've had an extra 24 hours versus the usual every other day thing. And if he doesn't play tonight, if Hayden doesn't play tonight, well, then you got Saturday, Sunday. 24, 48 hours is big in pro sports to get guys like that back. But no word, no update, no inkling on McBain. But 100% when he comes back, that's another guy that can make an impact and bang guys around and is a playoff type skater for you.
Give me the Adrian Denny update on special teams, because before the Olympic break the Mammoth were about 16% on power play conversion. After the Olympic break that was up to 30%, and then killing power plays is where they struggled down the stretch and where they struggled in game 1. So tell me what you've seen there. What's good and what needs to improve?
In game 1, they didn't win the special teams battle, and it was the difference in the game when Vegas tied it up and less than 2 minutes later took the lead. It was a tough penalty that the Mammoth took. In game 2, they didn't win the special teams battle. They were down 1-0 because of an early penalty. But we kind of felt that they did win the special teams battle, big picture for the series. They had a franchise record 12 shots on the power play. And when Utah's going on the power play, quick passes, quick shots, quick retrievals off of goalie saves, and you're going back to work. We saw that in game 2, so they didn't score on the power play. The PK, which has been up and down, November, December was top 5, top 10 in the NHL, looked like the penalty kill with the Mammoth are rolling. Vegas wasn't really getting anything. We're getting our stats through our Slack a lot. We didn't really have to ask to see if that was a franchise record.
I want to go back to something you referenced because I think it's pretty cool in case people in our community didn't hear about this. So, of course, the team came here in 2024, and the closest team to us via proximity is the Golden Knights. And I noticed that there were quite a bit of Golden Knights sweaters and jerseys around town. And now we have these two teams going head-to-head. So tell us about this jersey exchange for anybody that may have missed it, and is it still going on? How can people take advantage of it?
The jersey exchange is over because, as I said, I heard upwards of 1,000 people in line, and I got here right around noon, and I can verify that there was a lot of people. And Ryan Smith, owner and governor, tweeted a couple days ago, Friday at noon, Delta Center, jersey exchange. If you have a Vegas Golden Knights jersey, bring it downtown, and we'll give you a Mammoth jersey. And it seemed to go pretty well. I tweeted and put on my Instagram at 801 Adrian Denny the line and the happy people with their Vegas jerseys that we're going to turn them into Mammoth jerseys. So fun way to start the day here downtown.
So what sort of atmosphere is to be expected? I mean, when it comes to Stanley Cup playoff hockey, it is a new experience for most of the people that will be there tonight as far as Utah Mammoth fans. And as you referenced earlier, you can feel the buzz around town. When something historic happens in Utah and in Salt Lake, you can just kind of feel it. So what sort of atmosphere are we in for tonight at the Delta Center?
Party ongoing on the plaza right now. Started at 3. Live music. Our Mammoth is out there. Our Mammoth Zamboni. Looking out, I see a game area, live music. So the party outside, if you don't have tickets for the game, come on down still. Be part of it. And inside the arena, I just expect just complete mayhem. It's a rock show every night in here. That's the funnest part of it. And now it's playoffs, and we know what the Stanley Cup playoffs are, and Utah knows what the playoffs are. So I think it's just going to be berserk. I don't think there's going to be a way to contain it.
We caught up with Tom Callahan earlier this week, and he described Vejmelka's performance so far as good, not great, a little shaky. We've seen throughout the course of the history of this sport, whether it's the Olympics with Team USA or teams that go on to win Stanley Cups, the conversation in sports has always been, okay, the most important position in team sports is probably quarterback. And if there's an answer that could live in that cul-de-sac, it is keeper in soccer or hockey, goalie in hockey. You can ride a hot goalie. You can ride a hot keeper to trophies in soccer and hockey. Tell me what you've seen from Vejmelka so far and what needs to be better if the Mammoth are going to win this series.
I think he's been fine. He's allowed 3 5-on-5 goals. Is that right? One in 2 in game 1, 1 in game 2, which came off of a breakdown. I think he's been fine. He's just going to be your same guy every night. He's not going to be somebody you have to worry about. If he gives up something, he usually stops. He's going to stop the next 10. I think Vejmelka's solid. I think Carter Hart for them has made some good saves. He's made good first saves. There's been a lot of rebounds out there that I think the Mammoth can take advantage of because every goalie in the NHL is going to make the first save. I think both goalies have been solid, and I think Vejmelka's been fine. What scale is Tom using there, Spence?
You know what? You'll have to take that up with him, Adrian. As I've told you before, when it comes to sports where there are experts that I can tap into, I just have them on and ask the questions. That's all I do.
I think he's been solid, Spence. He hasn't stolen a game yet, but I think he's been fine.
Yeah, and let me be clear. He didn't say he was horrible. He said good, not great, and maybe a little shaky at times. And, again, it's such an important position. Let me ask you about another veteran player in J.J. Peterka. Only 14 minutes of ice time through 2 games and no points so far. What have you seen from Peterka so far?
I think he's always on the verge of getting something. If he doesn't, it could come in 30 seconds. It could be something that comes in 20 minutes. It could come the next game. But J.J. Peterka is always on the verge of something happening. And I think the Mammoths have been really, really pleased with his first season here in terms of how he plays defensively and how he's kind of gone into some areas to play hockey in addition to that shot and playmaking ability that he has. So anytime you're like, oh, Peterka's been kind of quiet, wait a couple, something is going to happen with JJ.
On the other side for Vegas, it does feel like their stars have been stars. Marner with 2 assists, Eichel with 2 assists, their captain Mark Stone with 2 goals. But when they have had the better of it, Adrian, tell me what you see from them. What have they done well when it feels like the thing is kind of going their way?
Well, Eichel's a guy that, he's so good at everything. It's not just going to always be offensive for him. Like he impacts the game in every way, and he's so consistent. And Marner's kind of the same way. Like he's a gamer, but you don't see how valuable he is in their locker room and just how much he cares and wants to be there. So I think you list the stats for him, which are always there, but they're both guys that for Eichel, whatever the situation, wherever he is, I mean, he has the puck a lot, and he keeps the puck, but they're just beyond box score guys to me. So I tell the fans, watch those two guys when they're on the ice, and number one, you'll probably learn something, but number two, you'll get a greater appreciation for them.
All right, buddy, before I set you loose, let's bottom line this. Big game tonight. There's no such thing as a must-win game unless it's an elimination game, but certainly it's not hyperbolic to say that whoever wins tonight will have the, we'll certainly have the advantage, definitely a 2-1 lead, and if they can get it done at home, it sends a message to that veteran team. So I'll just bottom line this. The Mammoth win tonight, Adrian Denny, if they do what?
If they graduate to being the elite level team that they're ultimately going to be, that matches the atmosphere of the Delta Center. If they play how they did the second and third period of Game 2 and the first two periods of Game 1, they're going to win. If they play how they did, winning 6 of their final 8 road games and having a winning road trip every trip since December, they're going to win. If they come in, they've had some ups and downs at home because I don't starstruck because they're trying to match the atmosphere with their play when it's in the back of their head, as we talked about at the start of the conversation, Spence. That's the only thing that's going to get them in trouble. If that little guy saying, "Was that good enough? Was that a good enough exclamation point?" And I think they've graduated to that. I think we've had some tests. First year in the NHL in Utah, being a playoff team in March. I think that's why they struggled. Bill Armstrong said as much in the last couple of weeks. We try so hard that it just kind of has the opposite effect. So I think Utah's graduated to a point where they can take a couple games here at the Delta Center and be in a good spot going back for Game 5. But that's the biggest defense. It's nothing with the matchup. It's nothing with the lineup. It's not the game plan. It's becoming the elite level home team and kind of shaking off, a young team at home trying to please their fans.
Adrian, where can people go get your work, buddy?
You can find us Hockey Night in Utah. Be live at 6:30 tonight. Find us on the NHL app and Mammoth Daily. Spent a reaction episode right after tonight's game wherever folks get their podcast. Mike Folta and I will have it, and we'll be back regularly scheduled Monday morning with Mammoth Daily, Monday through Friday, and wherever folks get their podcast. Apple, Spotify, Utah Mammoth, YouTube page, Mammoth Plus, and SGP Plus.
Thank you, my friend. Enjoy the moment tonight. It is historic. Be well, okay?
You too, Spence. Thanks for having me. Take care, buddy.
All right, Adrian Denny from the Utah Mammoth radio team. History made tonight as Stanley Cup playoff hockey invades Salt Lake City. 7:30 drop of the puck. So make sure to get down there. And if you can't make it down there, you can make it down here to Epic Brewing, where our friend Jamie stops by once again. Jamie, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So give us the origin story of this bar expansion. What was kind of like the original idea? How did you guys come up with it?
The original idea was actually to have a bigger space. We wanted to go all the way back to the end of our parking lot, but the city said, no, we can't do that.
Okay.
But we've made the best of what we have, and it turned out really well.
It turned out really, really well. So for our listeners, come by Epic Brewery and do it right now. It's 825 South State Street. We're giving away free hockey pucks, and not like plastic little hockey pucks. They're like regulation size. They're real pucks with the Epic Brewing logo on it. 825 South State Street. It is the Epic Brewery location that you're accustomed to, but there's a new space in back. That's awesome. It's a major bar expansion. And new beer today, the Utah Hip Check Ice Lager, 7.5%. Tell us about this new beer.
It is actually not a new beer. We've had
not
it
a new beer.
Nope, we've had it once. There was announcements that we're going to have a hockey team. It was then created, so we've had it for a little while.
Okay.
But now that we're able to do all the playoff parties, we're excited to promote it.
So you have been around the scene for a while with other companies. What makes Epic special? What do you like most about your new spot?
Epic has been around since 2009, and I don't think people realize how long it's been here. There's over 50 different types of beer, and a lot of them are heavier, darker, high point beers, which is pretty amazing.
And you referenced earlier, there are a lot of spots where you can't sample the high point beer. You can sample the high point beer here, though.
You can technically, legally, you can sample it anywhere. A lot of companies just choose not to do that.
And that's because they want to make you buy the whole thing?
A lot of it's served out of cans mostly,
Okay.
and so people don't want to waste a can because there's no guarantee that someone's going to come in and sample it after you. We serve ours out of bottles, so we can still put a wine stopper in it and keep the carbonation in it.
I see. So the high point beer, not on draft.
It will never be on draft in Utah.
That's not allowed.
Nope, that is illegal.
See, I'm just learning our liquor laws every time I interview you because I feel like they change all the time. Is that fair?
Yeah, they change a lot.
And you're serving food. Tell us about your menu.
We have 4 different panini options. We have chips, and we have little meat and cheese option. The food truck also just pulled up. Fry Me to the Moon is here tonight. And they do Navajo tacos, scones, dessert, little mini donuts, and cheese fries and more.
There you go. So now's the time. The food truck is here. The sun is shining. Jamie, it's great to see you, okay?
Good to see you.
Come on by and say hi. We're also giving away 2-day passes to the Red West Music Festival. The Red West Music Festival features Ella Langley, Shabuzi, Co Wetzel, Sam Barber, Tucker Wetmore. I don't know these people, but if you're a country music fan, it is the Red West Country Music Festival. Porter, do you know these people?
Ella Langley. She's maybe my current celebrity crush, so we can, no hate there. Sam Barber's pretty good.
Okay. Wyatt Flores.
Rattlesnake Milk. I'm gonna throw that one out there. They're very far down on the poster, but they're really good. They're a lot of fun.
I'm sorry, did you say Rattlesnake Milk?
I did. Yep.
Huh. Okay.
Go listen. Go listen.
Oh, there they are, Rattlesnake Milk. What about Logan Ryan Band? There's another one named Ryan. They're all named Logan or Ryan or whatever. Did you know the Logan Ryan Band?
Not familiar,
Okay.
but a few on there. The ones I mentioned are worth, I think, maybe a night out, especially if you get it for free.
Okay, indeed. Late Night Thoughts. Are you familiar with Late Night Thoughts?
I'm not.
Okay. Anyway, all those people are playing at the Red West Country Music Festival. Come on by. We'll give you some day passes to the Red West Music Festival. We're giving away free hockey pucks, and you can try their new beer and check out their new menu here at Epic Brewery. It's the same location, but just an expanded spot at 825 South State Street. That's where you find us. All right, we'll catch a break. Don't forget, we got Craig Bowl coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll do a little soccer with Pablo Mastroeni. Get back to some NFL draft conversation in the 5 because the NFL draft resumes tonight, and you can hear it right here. We brought you round 1 yesterday, round 2, round 3 tonight, and we are your home of football, both college and pro, in this market. So after we say goodnight, it's time for the NFL draft. We'll catch a break, reset some of the stories of the day today, live at Epic Brewery. At 825 South State Street on a Friday edition of the program on ESPN 700. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this is rattlesnake milk, correct? Is that who this
Zeppelin
is?
Spencer. Come on, man.
Oh, I couldn't tell with the intro. I just figured, based off of your enthusiasm for the Red West Music Festival, you would fire up a little rattlesnake milk for us, no?
They're a little underground to be getting the radio play, so we don't have them in our library, but I'll see what I can do about that.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we are giving you day passes to the Red West Music Festival as we're live today at Epic Brewery, I should say. So it's 825 South State Street, right in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City, Utah. We've had quite a few people roll in to grab hockey pucks. We still have some available. We did run out last time, so I would encourage you to come on down and grab a hockey puck while we have supplies lasting at 825 South State Street. And again, you can enter to win 2-day passes to the Red West Music Festival. It's coming up in October out of the Fair Park. They've got new beers. They've got a new draft system. They've got paninis. They've got sandwiches and chips and a little meat and cheese plate if you like. If you're looking for a place to come on down and pregame prior to the Utah Mammoth game tonight, the Mammoth take on Vegas. We'll try to take a 2-1 lead in their series. Epic Brewery is the spot. It's 825 South State Street. The sun is shining. You can sit out on the patio and have a beer. If you're not into that, they've got sodas and water, whatever you want. 825 South State Street is where you find us here on a Friday edition of the show. Now, going to bring in Bowler today. Craig Bowler-Jack will stop by. We still have Pablo Mastroeni as well. We'll get back to both NFL draft. We'll do some NFL draft here, and then we'll get back to some draft stuff in the 5, and then we'll get you ready for the Mammoth game as history is being made. In Salt Lake City tonight, for the first time, we will have Stanley Cup playoff hockey played at the Delta Center. Fun to have kind of a historic week with Lionel Messi in town on Wednesday and Inter Miami taking on RSL. And now we have a scenario where we have playoff hockey in Salt Lake for the first time. If you have an opportunity, and I know tickets are probably really tough to come by, I'm sure the secondary market, especially after the Mammoth got the win in Game 2 in Vegas, my guess is the secondary market completely shot through the roof. But if you can't get down there, come watch it here with some friends at Epic Brewery, or they're having a party down on the plaza. If you missed it earlier, kind of a cool thing from Smith Entertainment Group and the Utah Mammoth, allowing Vegas fans to swap their jerseys for a brand new Mammoth jersey. You know, prior to the Mammoth arriving here in 2024, Vegas was the team that was closest in proximity, and so a lot of people just latched on to Vegas as their preferred hockey team. Well, now we have one, so join the bandwagon, get on it before it's too late. Unfortunately, the jersey swap is over, but apparently there were about 1,000 people there today. Round 2, NFL Draft, is going to get going tonight. Right when we say goodnight, we will join the coverage in process. Now, some storylines from day one. Porter, let me bring you in here. I always hesitate to believe people that are trying to be body language experts on social media. Sean McVay didn't look like he was thrilled with the Ty Simpson selection at 13. Now, they've been doing some PR damage control, including Les Snead saying just about 20 minutes ago that he does work in lockstep with Sean McVay. I kind of read this as Sean McVay wanting to make sure with his messaging that people knew that he was on Matt Stafford's side. Now, it's not rare for a team to draft a quarterback when their quarterback is aging. We saw with Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers. But were you following this when it came to what a lot of people thought were like icy interviews with McVay after the Rams picked Ty Simpson yesterday?
A little bit, and I don't know that I necessarily disagree with Sean McVay. I mean, Matthew Stafford was on the MVP short list. He's a guy that, yes, it may be his final couple years in the league, but if you have him on your roster and you have the pieces around him, probably kind of want to build around that, right? And not only that, Spence, but I don't know that Ty Simpson's the guy you pick if you have the first round pick at quarterback. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to be able to read Sean McVay's body language either. I think he's a guy who is often kind of hard to read in that direction. But if he is, maybe not so thrilled with that pick, I kind of agree with him because I think this is a Rams team who should be not building around Matthew Stafford, let me be clear, but giving him the pieces that he probably needs to try to make one or two more runs at something in the postseason, and it just bringing in a guy who's going to be in my opinion, kind of a career backup quarterback just doesn't really make sense there. In the second, the third round, sure, go for it. It felt a little icy, as you said, and if that is the case, then I am probably on board with Mr. McVay.
Yeah, I think my bigger takeaway, because, Stafford won MVP last year.
Right.
And the Rams became the first team since the Packers in 1967 to draft a quarterback the year after their quarterback won MVP. And look, Stafford's 38. I think this might be it. So I have no problem looking at the eventual succession, the succession plan, putting that in place now. And maybe they see something in Ty Simpson that a lot of people don't because they could have had him probably later on. I think the point you made is the one I would be like, if I'm Matt Stafford, my whole thing is like, well, wait a second. If I have 1 or 2 more years, we could draft a tight end at 13. Not like the Rams need a tight end; they have 70 of them. But or a new offensive lineman. To utilize 13 on a quarterback that you probably could have drafted late in the first or early in the second, instead of giving Stafford another weapon. That to me is where I think this might be misguided.
Yeah, another weapon for a guy who just won the MVP. Or, hey, you lost the NFC Championship game because your defensive backfield was in need, right? So there are multiple ways you could have gone that you really don't need to. And hey, if you want to get the succession plan in place, wait until there's a quarterback that's going to be your succession. I'm sorry, but Ty Simpson's not going to be a starting quarterback for the Rams in 2 years. I really don't think so. And if they are, that's going to be a problem for Les Snead, not something that he's excited about. From what I understand, there's a familial connection in the Rams front office and Ty Simpson, so that might be worth looking into as well. But I think when you make a deep playoff run and your quarterback wins MVP, and then you draft a quarterback, you're gonna invite people to poke and prod at it, and I think with good reason.
Well, since you brought up the potential of a family connection in the Rams front office, we haven't done this for a while, and I'll allow you to remind the listeners of what the official stance is of the drive when it comes to nepotism and nepo babies.
Can't have them. Don't like them.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently, Les Snead knows The Simpsons. That's all I know. Apparently, it was before. Okay. Before the draft process as well. So I don't know any more than that, but it's not like it's his nephew. I just think they're familiar.
Got it. The big local story is, for the first time, the Utah Utes had 2 players picked in the first round of the NFL draft. Spencer Fano, Caleb Lomu became the 11th and the 12th Utah football players ever to be selected in the first round. I thought what the Browns did was really smart. They ultimately traded down and still were able to get Spencer, who clearly they wanted. There was reporting on that for about a couple of weeks. They were at 6. They made a trade with the Chiefs. They moved down to 9, and they were still able to grab Spencer Fano. And then Caleb Lomu had to wait a little bit longer, but he did go off the board in the first round. He was thought to be kind of a borderline first or second round pick. And Caleb lands in New England. The second round gets going tonight. Now, 8 teams in the NFL have not made a pick because there were so many teams in the first round with multiple picks. 8 teams had multiple picks, led by the New York Jets. And I think the Jets did a really, really good job. David Bailey at 2. A lot of people thought it would be Arvell Reese. The reporting around the Cardinals being high on Jeremiah Love turned out to be accurate. He's off the board at 3 to Arizona. The Jets then were able to add Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon, at 16. The word was that Sadiq didn't even meet with the Jets. The Jets didn't think he was going to be there at 16, and he was. And then New York gets a really talented young wide receiver in Omar Cooper Jr. Speaking of wide receivers, this draft, at least so far in the first round, we're talking about wide receivers, we're talking about edge, pass rushers, and offensive linemen. 9 linemen taken in the first round is a record. So David Bailey off the board at 2, and then Arvell Reese falls to the Giants at 5. The Giants add Arvell Reese to a grip of really good pass rushers, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns. I mean, they've got a bunch of dudes that can get after the quarterback. But Carnell Tate was the first wide receiver taken, and a lot of people surprised that it was as high as it was. Now Cam Ward needs help. Carnell Tate will be a Tennessee Titan. Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, Big 12 kid, who a lot of people thought would be the first wide receiver taken, didn't have to wait long. He's off the board at 8 to the Saints. Now, as I referenced, 8 teams so far have not made a pick, and that will change coming up as the San Francisco 49ers are on the clock. The Cleveland Browns also grabbed Casey Concepcion, a wide receiver from Texas A&M at 24, dynamic, good on special teams. I think the Browns and the Jets have just decided we're going to lay some things in place this year to not necessarily be good, build for the future, and then capitalize on what a lot of people believe to be an excellent quarterback class next year. And so if you're Spencer Fano, you're probably in for a little bit of a long ride, but Spencer Fano landed in Cleveland today. Of course, they're thrilled that they were able to grab him at 9. And for the first time in Utah football history, 2 players off the board in the first round. Really exciting stuff for Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu. All right, we're live today. Epic Brewing. Jamie stops by once again. They're making you do all of these hits.
I know.
I thought they were going to give you like a break or something.
Well, it's hard to be this great all the time.
That's fair. I can't argue with that. All right, Epic Brewery, 825 South State Street. Jamie, we have a bar expansion. It's a new space. What do you want our listeners to know?
That it's here, and it's ready, and it's great.
Mm-hmm. And that's it, period.
That's it.
It's here, it's ready, and it's great.
Yep, we have a great patio. We've got a great inside bar. Yep.
Is this available for like events? Are you going to like have event space rental situations going on?
Yeah, it's always a possibility.
How can they get more information on that?
Just call the brewery, and we will give you some information.
Okay.
Reach out on social media, however you want to do it.
Okay. Do you have your social media touch points? You know what those are?
No.
So just search Epic Brewery, and they're there.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. We have the Utah Hip Check Ice Lager. Mm-hmm. Not a new beer. I learned that. So you created that when the Mammoth came.
When the Utah Hockey Club was announced.
Utah Hockey Club. Okay, and now the Utah Mammoth.
Mm-hmm.
What's your most popular beer? What's like the epic hit?
The Brainless series.
The Brainless series.
Mm-hmm, or the Big Bad Baptist series.
Okay, what's the Brainless series?
The Brainless series, there's just multiple options.
Okay.
There's probably 8 different types of Brainless that we have, like a passion fruit, honeycomb,
okay,
things like that. The Big Bad Baptist are aged in whiskey barrels.
Okay.
And then have different flavors off of that, too.
And all of those available here?
Yep.
Okay, very nice. What's available on draft today?
We have a Nitro, a Milk Stout, 2 1/4, which is a near beer because
Okay.
it is only 2.25%.
Okay.
We have a Mexican Lager. We have a Honey Wheat, an Italian Pilsner, a Rice Lager, which is also aged in Chardonnay barrels, which is really good.
Okay, very nice, very nice. And then you have a new food menu, correct?
Yes.
Let's hear about that.
We have paninis, we have chips, and we have some just meat and cheese.
Because we need 3 food options to sell beer in Utah.
Yep, 3 prepared food options.
Okay, Jamie, you rule. We'll chat again. All right, Jamie, she's doing all the hits for our friends at Epic Brewing today. Come on by and say hi. It's 825 South State Street. We are giving away hockey pucks. That's right. If you want a free, regulation hockey puck with the Epic Brewing logo on it, I will just hand it to you when you walk in. Supplies are limited, so you better hustle down. We actually ran out of these things last year. But come on down. We are centrally located. Chances are wherever you're listening to us, unless you're streaming us out of state. And if you are, hello, thank you very much. But if you're here in Salt Lake, we're 10 minutes away from where you're at. 825 South State Street. Get your Friday started now. Let's start pre-gaming for the Utah Mammoth game. History is going to be made tonight as the Utah Mammoth welcome in Vegas for the first ever Stanley Cup playoff game here in Salt Lake. 2 hours down. 2 hours to go. Craig Bowlerjack joins us on the other side of a quick break. Pablo Mastroeni will join us after that. Then 5 o'clock hour of the program, back to some NFL draft and some Utah Mammoth conversation. It is The Drive on a Friday, and it's good to have you with us right here on ESPN 700. We are live today at Epic Brewing. Epic Brewery is right downtown. It's 825 South State Street. You probably know where it is if you enjoy a beverage or two, but you should come down because it's a new space that has been expanded with a patio in back where the sun is shining. Got some people playing some cornhole. Got some people pre-gaming for tonight's Utah Mammoth game. We're giving away hockey pucks. Then we're entering you to win 2-day passes to the Red West Music Festival coming up this fall at the Fair Park. Our next guest, you know him, you love him, TV voice of the Utah Jazz. Always great to catch up with Craig Bowler. Jack Bowler, happy Friday, sir. How are you?
Hey, you as well. Got a little special, kind of little snap in the air, man, with, Stanley Cup playoff hockey tonight, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's been a historic week. We had Lionel Messi in town on Wednesday to play RSL. Now we'll have our first Stanley Cup playoff game in the history of our state tonight in Salt Lake with the Mammoth welcoming in Vegas. And, I've been asked a couple times, Craig, think back to historical events that feel like Wednesday felt or feel like tonight feels. And really the only thing I can come up with is Jordan here in the finals, 97, 98. That to me is the last thing. And look, there's the Olympics in 2002. Real Madrid came and played here in 2005, but you're a guy that's been around here for a long, long time. When I say the most historic, significant sporting events in our state, what are some of the things that come to your mind?
Oh, man, there's been some epic moments, but I think it goes back to a night. I remember this night, Spence. It was 97. I think it was Game 2 at Delta Center that Madonna actually was hiding in the downstairs parking lot of Triad Center before she made her way to the arena to watch the Bulls and the Jazz. And that had a kind of a hype of hype. Like, really? That's like the Beatles, man. Plus MJ and the Bulls. I mean, those 2 years, I got to be honest, were crazy. And there was a vibe that's difficult to match. Now, are the Mammoth matching it? Hey, look, they've struck the match, so to speak, right? And the win in Vegas was awesome. And tonight, I can't imagine. I wish I could go, but I bet out on the deck, the patio, the pre-party, the pre-gaming is going to be fun. And this is kind of that historic moment. It has to start somewhere. And the beauty of it is, Spence, year 2, you're getting a taste of it. And it's remarkable what, Ryan and Ashley were able to do in a short period of time.
Yeah, and look, they're going to spoil us because it's the second year that the team is here, and they're a playoff team. I mean, there's so many teams that in cities that spend years and years and years in kind of an endless loop or cycle of a rebuild, and in year 2, to see this thing culminate with a playoff appearance. And Bowler, it's tied at 1. They win tonight, they're up 2-1. Yeah. It's a pretty cool story all around.
It is. You know what's impressive is that how young the Mammoth are. But I think the announcers Matt McConnell made a comment that what makes this team special with Cooley and Gunther is they've got high level speed on the ice. And until I started to watch it, be able to make, 1 or 2 steps or 1 or 2 pushes, skating past, Vegas defenders, I didn't really notice because the speed of the game is so impressive anyway. But to point that out, that the Mammoth have a much higher level of speed on the ice right now, and it's kind of interesting to watch. It's a young group. I'm sure more additions to be made, but I'm impressed, and I'm excited to see how this thing goes. I mean, why not, right? You always say, why not? You know what? Why not the Mammoth? And let him continue on. We'll see. Tonight's a big game. Tonight could really change it one way or the other.
Yeah, and, the intensity of postseason sport, period, it's kind of what you do it for, because you're reminded of when things are on the line, how different it feels and how electric the building is. And, hopefully next year, Craig, we see Jazz playoff basketball back in Salt Lake, because there are very few events, period, that we can find around these parts that are quite like a Jazz playoff game when that Delta Center is popping, you know?
Yeah, it's a special place. I always like to refer to it, the house that Larry built, and I'm glad it's still there, Spence. There's so many memories that have come and gone, and, hopefully there'll be many, many more, one being tonight. But, if you break it down, on paper, and I think you'll agree, the Jazz are a very impressive team if everything, comes to fruition. And, if they do sign Walker, and let's see what happens on draft lottery night on May 10th, which is just around the corner. But they did win the coin flip, by the way, Spence. How about that? They won the coin flip against Sacramento. So maybe that's a positive sign. But, yeah, there's something inside that building that's special. And I think it's the location of the seats. I think it's just a fan base that has been with this team since day one. And hockey's building that same type of tradition. It's fun to watch. I love it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the coin flip. Now, look, even if they were at 5, the chances are they were going to keep their pick. But just to eliminate that 0.7% chance that the pick falls to 9, I think anyone involved just had to breathe a little sigh of relief that at least there's now 0 chance the Jazz lose that asset.
Yeah. Well, Spence, after last year, 17 wins. You think the Jazz have the greatest opportunity to pick up a guy named Cooper Flagg. Dallas with a 1.8% chance jumped in to grab the number 1 pick. It's fascinating to me on how this all breaks down and works and how the odds are. But, the conspiracy theorists are out there. Others say, look, let's just go play. And you know what? Ace Bailey may turn out to be a terrific addition to this franchise for years to come. And, all things for a reason if you want to look at it in a positive way. But I am excited to see, how this one goes. I remember sitting there here in my office going, here we go. And picking at number 5 will be the Utah Jazz. And I thought, wow, all that for the number 5 pick, right? And so, yeah, it's year to year things change. But if there is one franchise that is, let's just say, owed a little bit of bright light on a draft night, on a lottery night, would be the Utah Jazz. So we shall see. They've not had much luck in the past, and hopefully things turn around.
See, one of the – and it's not entirely unlike other businesses, but in a way it's pretty unique because you cannot run from one unavoidable fact is how I'll put that, and that is – like, we give the Spurs a ton of credit for building the dynasty they did with and look, they deserve a lot of credit, but and now San Antonio is going to be back in the mix for a number of years because it's not just Victor Wembanyama. They also have Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper, but let's face it, Wembanyama, number 1 overall pick, Dylan Harper 2, Stephon Castle 4. Tim Duncan, number 1 overall pick. Now, they were able to find some incredible diamonds in the rough in Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. And like I said, I'm not taking away credit from them. But without luck, you don't build that. It's an unfortunate way and an unfortunate, undeniable reality that if you want to build a legitimate championship pro basketball team, even if you do everything correctly, if you don't get the luck that other teams get, you're not going to compete. It's just the way it is.
Spence, I'm with you 100%. Look, you just said it with San Antonio. Yeah, they got the centerpieces, but how smart are they in their scouting and putting the right pieces alongside the Timmy Duncans, the David Robinsons, now the Victor Wembanyama's? And the Jazz will be put in that same position, the Jaren Jr. Jackson trade. How epic will that actually be? We're going to find out sooner than later. But, you pick up a Jeff Hornacek, as the Jazz did from Philadelphia so many years ago, but it was kind of that missing piece that the Jazz needed to push them into the next realm. And, you do have to be lucky, but also who do you decide – in your scouting department and your evaluation process, which there's so much of that now, in analytics 24/7. But the reality is, in my opinion, Spence, is you still just have to get guys who love the game and go out and bust their tail every night. It may be the old adage of the old lunch pail, the old bring your bucket to lunch and let's go to work. I mean, that's the Jerry Sloan way. But there's still some truth to just go out and play the game. And you have to have the right pieces that are dedicated. And, look what Oklahoma City's been able to do. The SGA trade, brought in just that piece. And look how together they are. And the Jazz, I think, are trying to build that same kind of aura, that same team concept. When they go out and hit a post-game interview, a couple of players join in, which is what OKC does each and every night. But you have to build it, and you have to believe it, and you have to have the right players in place. And I think that equates into some luck that they buy in. But also they got to be damn good, and they got to and they got to believe in the system and the coach. And for the moment right now, Will Hardy jumping into his 5th year this summer, I think that's the guy that Keontae relates to and Walker Kessler relates to, Sensabaugh. And, that's a good thing. And let's just hope that, that continues on.
So you reference, the Walker stuff. And here's what I find interesting. I think they're going to bring him back. I don't know that there's a number out there that will dissuade them from doing so. And I could be wrong. Look, but when you just kind of understand the landscape right now, there aren't a ton of teams with a ton of space this offseason. It only takes one team to decide that they're interested in him, and maybe there's some sort of Godfather offer that the Jazz don't match. I don't see that. That's just my opinion. But if they bring Walker back, and we assume that the number's $27 million, okay? So they match the deal. They bring Walker back. Next year, Keontae is eligible for his own extension, okay? And if Keontae continues to play the way he played this year, we have to assume that number is also about $26 million. They're paying Markkanen $46. They're paying Jaren Jackson Jr. $49. So if they decide to match Walker, if they extend Keontae, then they're in luxury tax territory, and they're just saying, like, okay, This is the group. This is who we are. This is our team, right? I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying it's interesting to consider whether or not they've done their calculation to believe that if they make the financial commitments they need to make to keep this group together, barring something very unforeseen, a massive trade or something, this is going to be the group that Will has to work with for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, no, Spence is a good point. It does come down to what you just said, money. And it also tests management ownership on, Kevin O'Connor, Dennis Lindsey, Scotty Layton. They always had the same thing. I'm not spending my money. I'm spending Larry's. I'm spending the Millers. And now you have Justin Zanuck and the Angels saying, I'm spending Ryan and Ashley's money, right? It's not mine. It's theirs. And so you have, that's a fine line you have to walk, because you have to say, I believe the investment will be tenfold in the sense of what it brings to the city, the franchise, and obviously a title that the Jazz would love to bring home to Salt Lake and beyond. So, yeah, the money is like monopoly money, honestly, when you think about it. There's so much of it, and the numbers become skewed in such a way. But they're real. And you know what? They will penalize you if you go outside of it, and other teams will benefit. But you have to make the right decision at the right time, and you have to invest. And that's where the Jazz are. That's why this offseason is so important. If they want to pull the trigger on Walker, so be it. It may be one of the most formidable front lines the NBA has seen in a long, long, long time, Spence, with speed, athleticism, size. It could just be a nightmare for defenses to try to, pick who they're going to try to stop on a given night. But it sure is fun to talk about. That's for sure.
It is. And you know me, I try to operate off the realm of reality as far as what's reasonable to expect instead of – and look, if you're a fan, go crazy, get excited. I mean, that's – the fans are why we have jobs. So if you want to go crazy and start dreaming about next year, go crazy and start dreaming about next year. But I hear people say, like, hey, home court advantage, top 4 seed next year. I'm like, well, You do know that the West is good, and the other teams are also trying to win basketball games. So I can't get there. But where I can get, Craig, is I'm watching these play-ins. Like Charlotte won 44 games this year, made it to a play-in, and actually won a play-in game. Portland won 42 games this year, made it to a play-in, actually made the playoffs. I can see a jump to about 42, 44 wins and maybe a play-in team. That's my kind of line of delineation, but you tell me what yours is.
I think if they stay healthy, again, I'm just looking on paper, I think there's a chance for the Jazz to be a nice story in the NBA next year. And what I mean by that is a playoff team. Do they have to earn it on a play-in? Most likely. And why do I say that? Is because it's a process, Spence. We saw it in the Jazz times of Carl and John. They had to wait quite a long time before they actually found their way. But I think you look at some of the young teams like Orlando and Houston. You know, I guess Oklahoma City, you know, kind of built their way back up after they had it one time and they lost it again. I think you just have to go through the process, learn how to win, the disappointments that go with it. Now, look, you could say the Jazz have been through it in a big way already. 17 wins last year, 22 this year, and all with a lot of their star players sitting and cheering on the bench. So that could bring a lot of hunger. It should bring a lot of hunger and a lot of off-season, you know, work that goes with it. But, yeah, I'd be surprised if they don't make it in next year, Spence. That's saying a lot. That's just for my chair, I always like to say. But I think the expectations are there. You could feel the excitement in the last 20 games of the season with veterans traveling and being on the bench at the Delta Center, cheering these young guys on, knowing that one or two or three of these young players will be a part of the future. And so from here on out, we just have to wait and see how this roster actually comes together and who the Jazz actually, where they land on draft night. I mean, that could change the whole dynamics of this team and actually the NBA as well.
So we do need to continue to operate in the space of reality. I'm sorry to harsh anyone's mellow, but the most likely spot for the Jazz to draft, Craig, is 5.
Yeah.
And, is 6. And the second most likely spot is 7. So 27% 6, 20, or 18% 7. Okay, 11.51, 11.42, 11.23, and 11% 4. So good chance for a top 4 pick, most likely to land 6 or 7. Ultimately, I wonder where you think they need to land in order to add a piece that can play next year. Not, we'll put them on the end of the bench, like somebody that can be in the rotation. Where do you think they need to land?
I think the safe bet, Spence, would be probably another top 5 selection. This draft is probably 7, maybe 8 impressive. Top 5 have a lot of skill. Top 4's pretty high level. But look, if people are thinking it's A.J. DeBonza, let them wish, right? I guess we'll find out on draft night. The kid from Kansas seems to have a hiccup here and there. I've asked a couple of Jazz personnel too, Spence. I'm sure you have as well. And this is always the question people ask: are we going to draft? Will the Jazz draft for position or best player? And I think every time I've asked that question to a general manager, it's the same repeated answer: we're going to get the best player available, and then we'll work around it. So could you have 2 Ace Bailey type, players? Maybe. But then you deal with it, and you either let one develop or you move on from another, or you use that as better trade opportunity. You just, you never know what the analytics will tell you. But, look, we always kid about that's past my pay grade, but that's what they get paid to do. They have to make some really tough decisions that impact a lot of people. And, Spence, it also impacts on how another player may whether he stays or go, or if he's part of the rotation next year, right? Depending on what they end up doing. So I find it fascinating. There's really no right answer, I don't think, but I still think you just have to go with what the analytics. The interview is uber important, in my opinion, nowadays more than ever with younger players. Talk to these young guys, understand who they are, and understand who you're getting when you decide to bring them into the fold, and make sure they fit. Because I think that's the next step in development in this league, is making sure that the players you take are going to fit and be teammates and locker room guys that will only be a proponent for you, not to be disadvantageous at all. So I know that's a lot to say, but I think the interview process plays a big role, even more so now.
Hey, before I set you loose, how about a little love for our guy Rudy? We watched him play impactful basketball here for 9 years, and I always felt like the Rudy bullying thing was so lowbrow and cheap. And look, I don't know that they can beat Denver 4 times in 7 tries, but Nikola Jokic is 14 for 40 against him, 4 of 19 from 3, and right now Minnesota leads that series 2-1. How about a little love for our guy Gobert?
I'd say Rudy still has the ability to go out and challenge, and I think he gets into Jokic's head a bit. You know, you saw the game. No one shot the 3 well last night at all, and that's kind of the Rudy Gobert factor. Jokic looked confused, but just couldn't sort things out. You know, I mean, you get off nights. I get it. But Rudy, I don't know, man. You bring up a great point. There's always been this, hey, he's not sexy enough. He's one-dimensional. Look, true to some point in the sense of, you know, what his high-level stats are, and that is he's a defender at the rim and he can change the course of a game. Was it time for Rudy and Donovan to go? The Ainges or Danny Ainge thought so. I think Rudy still has a great feelings and thoughts for Salt Lake, because he said it multiple times. He grew up here. But don't take anything away from the guy. He's a dominant defender. Does he hit the free throws and the jumper a lot? Not all the time, but, man, he can still change the game and turn it upside down. And like you just said, they're up 2-1 on a very good Denver team.
Bowler, I appreciate the time, man. Have an excellent weekend, and we'll get you back on soon. Thank you.
All right. Spence, talk soon, buddy. Bye-bye.
Okay, TV voice of the Utah Jazz, Craig Bowler-Jack. We're going to bring in Pablo Mastroeni coming up next, talk a little RSL Historic Soccer Week. But a historic night tonight as the Utah Mammoth are hosting the Vegas Golden Knights. It's the first ever Stanley Cup playoff hockey game we've ever had in Salt Lake. If you can't make it to the game, come on down to Epic Brewery. That's where we're at right now at 825 South State Street. 825 South State Street. You know the location, but you probably don't know what they've done. And my buddy Ryan stops by on a Friday. What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Spence. How's it going?
It's good to see you. So what's your role here at Epic, Ryan? What do you do?
I'm the general manager here.
You're like the big boss man then.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm the big boss man, but everything other than brewing, I kind of run the show.
Okay, so you're the guy for this. Tell us about kind of the origin story when you first came up with the idea for this expanded space.
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, we had a brewery in Colorado. We closed that kind of with the idea that we want to focus more on Utah and just focus on like our original market here in Utah. And so this has been an idea for, 2 or 3 years in the making. Mm-hmm. A lot of hurdles with the city to get this done, but we're here. We finally did it. Yeah, it was a pretty wild ride.
Are you pleased with it? I mean, the space is awesome. Looks great.
Yeah, it looks great. Yeah, and for those of you who have been to Epic before, we took part of the warehouse space. We have like the big warehouse back here, and like where we're sitting in the bar right now, there used to be like fermentation tanks right here. There used to be huge storage racks and everything. And yeah, one day I was talking to the head brewer. I'm just like, how much space can you give up back here, and like still do what we do? And he literally put tape on the ground, and he's like, I can give up this much space, and this is the room that we're sitting in right now. And we built it up, and we built the patio, and here we are. It's
very
awesome.
Nice. Yeah, and the patio looks great. We've got cornhole going on. The sun is shining. Yeah. People are enjoying some suds. We're giving away hockey pucks, free hockey pucks with the Epic logo on top. So come on by. Again, the address is 825 South State Street, and they have a Utah Hip Check Ice Lager, which is 7.5%. Come celebrate NHL playoff hockey in Utah. What is your ultimate vision here? Do you want to have events here? Is it just watch parties? What would you like to see this turn into?
We want to do everything. We want to have watch parties. Yeah, we want to watch basketball. We want to watch hockey, baseball, football, any sports down here. Private events. I don't know. If someone wanted to have like a wedding party here, you know, we could do that. I want to do ski movie premieres down here. Like I want to do all sorts of stuff. Everything. We're open for anything.
Love it. And you also have a new draft system, correct? Beers on draft?
Yeah. So we have beers on draft down here for the first time. We have 8 different beers on draft, and those are going to rotate all the time. The brewers are super excited to kind of brew some new kind of like lighter, like mellower beers to have on draft. Yeah, we have some cool stuff on there right now. We just released a new 420 beer that came out a little late. Came out a little bit after 420, but it's a Grateful Dead themed beer called We're Grateful.
Nice.
And yeah, it was just packaged yesterday, and it's pretty dank. It's definitely worth a try. It's an awesome beer.
Love it. Where can our listeners go get more like social touch points or contact information, Ryan?
What do you mean?
Like Instagram, Twitter?
Yeah. Instagram, Facebook. Instagram's a great way to get a hold of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, look, thanks for having me. It's good to see you, okay?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Spence.
There's
Cheers.
my guy, Ryan, the general manager down here at Epic Brewery. Come on by at 825 South State Street, right in the heart of Salt Lake City. Brand new major bar expansion, outdoor patio, beers on tap, liquor and wine available. They also have food. They've got some sandwiches, some paninis, some chips, some meat and cheese plates, so you can grab a bite to eat as well. If you cannot make it to the Mammoth game tonight, come on by here. This place is really cool. I'll give you a free hockey puck just for stopping by and saying hello. And we'll also register you to win 2 passes to an upcoming music festival called Red West Music Festival. It's out of the Fair Park come fall. All right, we'll catch a break. Coming up next, Pablo Mastroeni joins us, talk a little RSL. We'll get back to the NFL draft and preview the Mammoth game in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll say goodnight at 6 right here on ESPN 700. All right, we're live today and have been all day and will be for another little while with our friends at Epic Brewing. Right downtown, it's 825 South State Street. They've released a new beer, the Utah Hip Check Lager, 7.5% Imperial Lager. They've got their double IPA. Small batch beer menu today is the $1 Billion Sculpin and the Naked Baptist. There you go. So come on by. It's a new space in back with a deck, a patio. Sun is shining. People are playing pickleball. No, that's cornhole. Excuse me. 825 South State Street. We're also giving away free hockey pucks because it's a historic night tonight as the Utah Mammoth have the first ever home playoff game in the history of our state. Historic night on Wednesday night as Lionel Messi rolled into town and Miami took on RSL. Pablo Mastroeni is our guest on a Friday. Pablo, how are you, sir?
Doing well, Spence.
I wanted to ask you, we have the NFL draft tonight on our station. I wanted to ask you what draft night was for you. What was it like when you were drafted? 1998 MLS college draft. Ironically enough, Pablo, you were drafted by Miami back then. What was that like for you?
It was really cool. You know, I think there was a big event, and at the time there was only 12 teams in the league. So you never knew if you were going, if there was enough picks to get you drafted, So I was really sitting there with my fingers crossed, and sure enough, I got selected in the first pick of the second round, and it was pretty awesome. It was a great moment for my family, for myself, and also the excitement of going to a new franchise was really cool.
Did you have any idea it would be Miami? Because a lot of these players now, prior to the draft, have a pretty good idea of where they're going to land.
Yeah, so it was really strange. No, I didn't know at all. My thought was I was going to Colorado because I'd gone to Colorado before the draft. You can go and train with teams so they can get a look at you, and I did well when I was there. And so they said, listen, if you're still on the board when we pick, we're going to get you. And obviously things changed. So my hope, not my hope, but my expectations were I was going to Colorado, and then they passed on me, and then Miami snatched me up, and it was a surprise. But listen, beggars can't be choosers, Spence. You got to go where you want it, and I landed in a good spot.
Yeah, you did. I always find it interesting to discuss the draft as it pertains to the difference in sport, sport by sport. In the NBA and the NFL, the draft is your lifeblood for most teams, unless you're Miami, because everybody wants to live in South Beach, or LA because NBA players want to live there, or maybe you're lucky enough that LeBron was born in your city and he goes back to Cleveland. It's not necessarily the same in MLS. I mean, you guys have had some hits. Tony Beltran back in the day, Emeka, obviously Solans has played well. But why isn't the draft as vital to roster construction in MLS as it is in other other sports, other endeavors?
That's a great question. And I would say that the way we view the draft, is different than most teams. We really believe in the young American athlete and someone that's gotten the experience of having been a freshman, sophomore, and going through those experiences is a little bit further along on the the maturity scale. Given that they've probably lived away from home and had some trials and tribulations. So we really value the staff, and I think I think the other part is the college season is what I think kind of I don't know is what gives it the feeling that it isn't as good as it may be. The college season's literally 3 months long, right? So it's a sprint season. And so when you think about players, if they do if it's 3 months, they'll have probably, they've played a year of football or soccer in those 4 years, right? So a lot of people will say from a soccer perspective, they're developmentally not where an average 21-year-old player would be, given that 21-year-old player would be playing, I don't know, 30, 40 games a season, where these guys play 16 games a season. And so I think that's a big aspect of it. However, they're now changing. They're about to change that from what I hear. They're going to vote on it, and they're going to make it a longer season and include part of spring in the soccer programs in the NCAA. And I think that might change how people perceive the college draft. But other than that, I think there's always been a liking to European younger players, South American younger players. But I think if we can extend this college season and get them a few more games, it'd be easier to scout to see how they would, how it would translate into coming to MLS after a longer season, or, following them a bit more would be really interesting. So I think that might change here in the next couple months.
Had not heard that. Well, we buried the lead. I'm not supposed to do that in this business, but since we have the draft tonight, I wanted to kind of pick your brain in that direction. And, of course, history made on Wednesday as Lionel Messi and Miami rolls into town, and they get you guys 2-0. Before we get to the game, I need to know from your vantage point what that experience was like, because I was lucky enough to be there, and my goodness, and look, over the years we've always asked the question, how can we get fans in their seats on time? Well, I guess the answer is just bring Messi to town. I thought it was an incredible atmosphere, man. Tell me what you saw.
Yeah, I think the lead up to it was a bit unique, where there's a lot of security for everyone that is involved with our facility, our stadium, AFF. You had to have a certain badge, and so there's a lot of commotion before a normal game week, and understandably so. So that was really different. As far as our prep for the game, it wasn't anything unique for at least from my perspective, as far as what I was gathering from the guys. And I think once they went out to warm-ups, it became real. And I think a lot of, like I said after the game, a lot of these guys have Messi posters on their wall in their bedrooms growing up, and to be on the same field with this guy has got to be one of the biggest privileges that one can experience as a soccer player. I think it's synonymous to playing on the same court with Michael Jordan and knowing that he's the GOAT while he's doing it. So I think that was a bit unique, and I think from that perspective, I think the first 10 minutes were really good for us. We were on top of the game. We had a goal, got called back, and then we had another chance, a really good opportunity Serge had in front of goal, and we just didn't capitalize on it. And then after that little first wave of 10 minutes, I feel like they got on top of the game, and then it started to, I think his presence, the way they play, they changed their whole tactical setup to go up against us, which is, I think, a good sign, a sign of respect, because we were anticipating a back four. They played in the back five, and they matched us up like for like. And I think that's a big credit to the attackers that have been doing a phenomenal job in these first 7 games. So, so I think after the 10 minutes of the first half, they kind of took control of the game, and you can feel the field tilt a little bit, and they're on the front foot. But, just really proud of how the guys played, especially in the second half, creating a couple more opportunities. And, you just got to tip your hat off to the 2 goals that they scored, because, you look at how they were going to score a goal, and it wasn't one of these cheapy goals. They showed their class in both of those goals. So a lot to learn from us. I feel like we're a good team. We want to be a great team. And I think in order to be great, you got to beat the great ones. And oftentimes they don't give you a lot of opportunity. So we learned, I think, a good lesson that we got to take our chances while they're given. And we weren't, unfortunately.
So when it comes to trying to gain. Oh, sorry, Pablo. We're running into some connection issues. My apologies. I wanted to ask you if you're hearing me okay, and you never know on radio. So when it comes to game planning for a player like Lionel Messi, what do you ask your guys to do? I mean, are you trying to bump him off the ball when he gets possession? Are you trying to avoid him having possession at all? I mean, how do you game plan for a player like that?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I think you can go one of 2 ways. If you go too far, then you make it all about Messi, right? And then now we can't even attack. And I think we had a good blend of just my whole thing to the guys was he doesn't change his positioning, and that's the beauty of Messi. He doesn't care that everyone knows where he's going to be at all times of the game, and he's not going to run a whole lot. what they're going to do is that they're going to start on the left side. Everyone's going to run towards goal because that's what you're asked to do in transition is protect the goal. And then he's going to go against the grain on the right side to receive the ball, and then that's when the attack starts. And so I think the guys just knowing that, Noel Kaliskin and Stein Spearings did a fantastic job when he dropped deeper into midfield. And to be fair, our back three did a really good job. So between our pivots and our back line, they did a great job of just identifying where he was at all times, whether we were in possession or not, and really nullifying a lot of what Messi does. And so from that perspective, they did a great job. But we didn't spend extra time on this is how you do it and that's how you do it. So again, really credit to their communication, their level of growth from last year to this year to be able to just take the information and amongst those 5 players really do a fantastic job of limiting all the chances that he typically has on goal.
Yeah, I mean, look, without knowing anything about game planning for a player like that, from my vantage point, I thought you handled him pretty well. You had a couple of chances. I don't know that you're ever going to eliminate Messi from having his chances. But your point about the goals are well taken. I mean, those are world-class strikes. But as you looked back, was there anything that you could have done to make that more difficult? Could you take away some of the space on the Suarez strike? I mean, you give me a million chances on an open net to do that. I couldn't do it. But anything you could have done with either of those goals to make it a little bit more problematic?
Yeah, I think on the first one, the way they set up on their corners, I think we could have gotten pressure to Paul a little bit earlier. But he's got a knack. He scored another goal like that this year, earlier in the year. So we were a bit privy to, not from a corner kick, but in the run of play. So we knew he had a shot from distance. But again, you can get more pressure on that. I mean, and that's always the cat and the mouse. Those guys on the perimeter, those are the shots that you want to give up versus a free header in front of goal from a corner kick, right? So we're going to always defend the goal. And you can't mark everything because we have three zonal players. So we're going to be 3 light defensively in the box. So it's pick your poison, right? So you mark the guys on the outside. So what we do is we have a secondary pressure to those guys on the outside, given that the distance from goal is going to be greater, and we feel like it's got to be a perfect shot. Secondly, I think that getting pressure on them from that type of distance should make it a little bit more difficult, and I think that's where we could have done better. But at the end of the day, even if you get pressure and he hits it the same way, Rafa was in a great spot to defend it, and the accuracy and the power was so great that he had no chance when you put it in the upper 90 like that. So, but we've definitely we'll definitely reflect upon the corner and think about if certain teams maybe we want to risk a little bit more. But then the next time we have a conversation, you're going to say, well, wouldn't you defend the middle of the goal? Isn't that the most important area? So I think you always have to, it's a game of, which area is more dangerous and what are you willing to give up to get? And in this case, we were willing to defend the middle and didn't get enough pressure on DePaul before he shot the ball.
Did you have a chance to say anything to Messi? I mean, I was trying to look down on the sideline because for our listeners that don't know, Pablo was born in Argentina, which adds an interesting layer here because obviously he's revered there. Did you have a chance to interact with him at all? And if so, do you care sharing anything there?
Yeah, I mean, we just chatted a little bit, and we were just talking about the game and how it was kind of stop-start. The ref was starting the game, stopping the game, and I saw that he was frustrated. And I made mention something about, back in the day, there was never stoppages like this in the game. It was just people kicking the heck out of each other, and he had a giggle about it and said, "Yeah, the modern game's different these days." And it was something along those lines, translated in English, but. I just think it's just even for me in that moment, it was really surreal, and him being close to the sideline there, and we just got just a little exchange for me. It's just pretty phenomenal that not only that he was at Sandy, Utah, but that he's had the storied career that I think if people go back and look at how many times he's won the Player of the Year and Champions Leagues and all the other things, and that, he's just in the, and so for me, it was a big celebration. And in that moment, I got caught up in the moment as well, where it's like, man, I just, it's an amazing experience to have a player of his caliber, anoint the Salt Lake fan base and for our players too. It's truly one of those moments that you'll never forget for the rest of your life.
Who was able to grab the jersey swap to get the game-worn jersey? I did not see.
You know what? I didn't even ask Spence, because I would always cringe at my teammates with the national team that would just run over to the Pirlos and, the Ronaldinhos. And I was just like, man, I think it's like, aren't we on the same level? Of course, there's no one ever running to get my jersey. I was just the role player. No one knew who the heck I was. So I was always so I didn't even ask, but someone definitely got it, and it happens quick. And you know what they do now is at halftime, as they're walking in, they'll say, hey, can we exchange jerseys, right? So they call dibs early days. It's not like old school where after games, they'll exchange jerseys. These guys now are preset in the moment at halftime.
Huh. Interesting. I got to find out who that is. I'm gonna play some calls to see who grabbed the Messi game-worn jersey. But look, before I set you loose, no rest for the weary. You guys are hitting the road to take on the Galaxy, coming up for a Sunday 5:00 kick. Give me some info, message to the team. Let's put this one behind us because we're still off to an excellent start to the year.
Yeah, I think and that's what I said. And today, Spence, I showed the guys 3 opportunities that we had, and then the decisions that we made, or it was the execution. But they were home run goals. Three good opportunities, 2 in the first half and 1 in the second. And my message to them was, listen, we played a really good game, right? And the better the team that you play, the fewer the clear opportunities you're going to have. And so here are 3 that I'm going to show you. And I'm saying if the decision was different or the execution on one of these 3 plays, it's a goal. And this is how close we are to beating last year's, the reigning champs, right? And so the most important thing is that we don't get caught up in this, the experience and say, like, now we're not a good team, because I'm going to show you guys, and I said I'm going to show you guys in the pregame of what we're capable of doing regardless of who we play, right? So I think it's about identifying areas that we need to continue to improve upon, but at the same time, I think it's important to really understand how far we've come and where we are and how good we can be, right? And so I think this LA Galaxy team is really a tricky team where, they have a couple injuries, but on their front line they still have 3 DPs, right? And I think, and you've been in this league long enough, if you have 3 of those guys on the field, they can make the difference at any moment. And so for us, it's going to take a steely defensive performance, and offensively, it's continuing to do what we've been able to do, which is create a lot of good opportunities on goal, and this time, finish. And if we can put those 2 things together, we'll continue on a good run of form.
All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate the time today. Safe travels, and go get all 3. We'll chat soon, okay?
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it, bud. Take care.
Pablo Mastroeni, head coach of RSL, back in action on Sunday against the Galaxy. That's a 5:00 kick on Apple TV. RSL tied for 5th in the standings after the loss to Miami on Wednesday. All right, we'll get to the 5:00 hour, some NFL draft, and get you ready for the Mammoth game. If you can't make it to the Mammoth game, Jamie, they should come to Epic Brewery, shouldn't they?
They really should.
Tell me why.
Because we are just that awesome.
You are that awesome, and as a result of this new space, you're even more awesome, correct?
Correct. We quadrupled our capacity.
Oh, is that what you did?
Yep.
Okay.
It was about 15 people, and now we can hold about 115.
So come on by, Epic Brewery. We got a watch party for the Mammoth game tonight at 825 South State Street. We're giving away hockey pucks. We also have new beers on draft. Tell me about this small batch beer menu, Jamie. We haven't talked about this at all.
Yeah, we do small batches every so often.
Okay.
The $1 Billion Sculpin is a West Coast IPA with grapefruit.
Okay.
And then we also have a Grateful Dead 420 style terpene beer with lemon haze.
What's the difference between a regular beer and a small batch beer?
They just don't make them in the huge tanks. It's a small batch. It's one limited time release.
So it's just like less beer.
Limited time.
Okay, learning more and more. If people want food, you can help them out as well, yes?
Yes, we have paninis, chips, meat and cheese plates. We also have a food truck here.
Food truck is here. Tell us what the food truck is.
Fry Me to the Moon. They have Navajo tacos, fish and chips, corn dogs, scones, salad if you want a salad.
Very nice. Is anyone coming to a brewery to eat a salad, though? That's the question.
I'm sure some people do.
Okay. Well, you got to get food if you want beer. What's your favorite part about the new setup?
The patio.
Beautiful, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, look, great to see you. We'll chat again.
Okay.
All right. Jamie, out here at Epic Brewery. It is 825 South State Street, centrally located in downtown Salt Lake City, Utah. We're giving away pucks, okay? If you want a puck, a free puck, it's a regulation puck. It's not a little plastic like promotional puck. Come on down at 825 South State Street. Also entering you to win 2 day passes to the Red West Music Festival coming up in the fall. That's going to be at the fairgrounds. So, again, live on location. Come on by at 825 South State Street with our friends at Epic Brewery. All right, we have 3 hours down. We have 1 hour to go. We'll get to some NFL draft storylines as we're going to bring you the NFL draft tonight when we say goodnight. And then we'll preview the Mammoth game as it's history in the making. In Salt Lake City, the Mammoth are playing the first ever Stanley Cup playoff game here at the Delta Center. We'll get you ready for that during the 5 o'clock hour. We'll say goodnight at 6 on ESPN 700. All right, here we go. Drive at 5 time, Friday afternoon style. Happy Friday to you. Congratulations. You made it weekend time, a historic sports week in our state, in our market. Continues tonight with a home playoff game for the Utah Mammoth, the first ever home playoff game, Stanley Cup playoff style in the history of our state, played here tonight. As the Utah Mammoth will look to take a 2-1 series lead over the Vegas Golden Knights. Drop of the puck tonight is going to be 7:30, and that TV coverage is TBS or HBO Max if you're looking to watch it on television. Hopefully you can make it down there for the game tonight, get ahead there after the show. If you are unavailable and not able to make it down, they've got a watch party going on where we're at today, which is Epic Brewing. It is right downtown. You know where Epic is. It's 825 South State Street, but it's not the Epic you're accustomed to. We are here celebrating their brand new reopening as a result of a new space. It's been a huge bar expansion. It's kind of like what they did in Colorado. If you ever went to the Epic Brewery in Colorado, they closed that location and wanted to make this one bigger, so that's what they've done. 825 South State Street, giving away hockey pucks in honor of the Mammoth game tonight, and they've got a bunch of new beers on draft. They have food now, too, because you have to do that with the state if you want to open up one of these things. So they've got sandwiches, they've got meat and cheese plates, they've got potato chips, and they've got a food truck here right now with homemade Navajo tacos, donuts, cheese fries, and more. So come on down at 825 South State Street with our good friends at Epic and try some of their beers, take a free hockey puck away, and enter to win 2 day passes to the Red West Music Festival coming up this fall at the Fair Park. So there you go. Live coverage of Day 2 of the NFL Draft comes your way right after we say goodnight at 6 o'clock. So the NFL Draft Round 2 is actually going on right now. The San Francisco 49ers are on the clock. They have not made a selection in the draft so far because they traded out of the first round. 8 teams in the NFL have not made a selection yet because so many teams had multiple first-round picks. The New York Jets had 3, then 7 other teams had 2. 320,000 people attended round 1 of the NFL draft in Pittsburgh. The big news really was Ty Simpson. He went 13 to the Rams, the quarterback from Alabama. A lot of people surprised to see that. Most of the reporting around Jeremiah Love to the Cardinals turned out to be correct. And Jeremiah Love joined Saquon Barkley and Trent Richardson as the only running backs drafted in the top 3 in the last 20 years. Your first wide receiver off the board was a surprise as well. Carnell Tate out of Ohio State went to the Titans at number 4. Jordan Tyson from ASU from Arizona State ended up going number 8 to the Saints. Good day for the Big 12. They had 6 players drafted in the first round, including the number 2 overall pick as the New York Jets. A lot of people thought they were going to draft Arvell Reese. They ended up going with David Bailey out of Texas Tech. Like I said, the Jets had 3 picks. A lot of people think they did a really, really good job with David Bailey at 2. Waited to 16 to take Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon. Then finished it off at the end of the first round. Number 30 drafted Omar Cooper Jr., of course, of local interest. For the first time in the history of the Utah Utes program, 2 players drafted in the first round. For the first time, 2 offensive linemen drafted in the first round. The Cleveland Browns traded down to 9, but were still able to grab Spencer Fano, who, of course, they had their eye on very, very early on, but didn't have to take him at 6. They made a trade with the Kansas City Chiefs, and they grabbed Spencer Fano at 9. Caleb Lomu had to wait a little bit longer, but he didn't have to wait all night. At 28, Caleb was selected by the New England Patriots, whose head coach has been in the news for all of the wrong reasons. So round 2 going on tonight. Not sure, round 2 and round 3, I should say. Not sure if we are going to see any of the other local products have their names called. It's Lander Barton, it's Logan Fano, it's Dallin Bentley, Jack Kelly, Chase Roberts, players like that. And as these picks spill in, we will bring them to you on the program. Don't forget comprehensive, complete coverage of the second day of the NFL draft, which is rounds 2 and rounds 3, will come your way when we say goodnight just around 6 o'clock tonight. The Dallas Cowboys went defense, like a lot of people thought they would do. I heard a lot of analysts believe that Caleb Downs, one of the best players in the entire draft. Well, he goes to Dallas at 11, a safety out of Ohio State, and the Dallas Cowboys added to their defensive line as they took Malachi Lawrence from UCF at number 23. Like I said, the biggest surprises seem to be Carnell Tate at 4. Mild surprise that the Jets went David Bailey, not Arvell Reese. Jordan Tyson, the first wide receiver off the board. This draft so far has been about wide receivers, offensive linemen, and edge pass rushers. 9 offensive linemen taken in the first round. There was some dicey and I would say icy press conference coverage of Sean McVay talking about Ty Simpson. Sean McVay made it very clear that even though they went Ty Simpson, the Rams still belong to Matthew Stafford, who at the age of 38 is coming off a season in which he won the MVP award. The Rams became the first team in the NFL since 1967 to draft a quarterback the year after their starting quarterback was able to win MVP. Matt Stafford at the age of 38. The Eagles traded up to draft Mekhi Lemon from USC. They've now added 4 wide receivers this offseason, which of course indicates the reports about A.J. Brown being traded to the New England Patriots probably are right on point. Doesn't look like there's even room for him now. So the round 2 of the NFL draft going on right now, the San Francisco 49ers on the clock. They just took Deshaun Stribling, a wide receiver out of Mississippi, and now the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock. After drafting Jeremiah Love, they're kind of in need of a quarterback. Could it be Grant Nussmeier? Could it be Carson Beck? Their pick is in about 6 minutes. Now, we are live today with our friends at Epic Brewing right on State Street. It's the same location. It's 825 South State Street, but it's a brand-new expanded patio. And Jamie doing the hard work once again. You've done all the hits except one. What's going on?
I don't know.
Did you volunteer for this?
I think I was kind of forced into it.
It's because you have the experience, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well,
I'm the only one here that has a face for radio.
Okay. Well, that's not true. But since you have the experience and you've been around the marketplace, you're qualified to talk about what makes Epic Brewing individual, unique. Why does it stand out above the others?
We are the only brewery bar that really does any tasters of our High Point beers, and that's anything over 5%. I have yet to find another brewery that will do that for anybody. So that is pretty unique.
That is pretty unique, and it's unique because you have a brand new space. I was talking to Ryan earlier about how the Epic spot in Colorado kind of motivated this expansion. They closed the one in Colorado, and they wanted to kind of expand this to basically just have more capacity, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever we can do to help the community and be a bit better spot and have more watch parties like this, we want to do.
What are your hours of operation?
11 to 10 on the weekends, and then 11 to 11 on the weekends, 11 to 10 on weeknights.
Okay, so you close at 11 tonight.
We can serve until 1. It's up to a customer base.
Oh, so if there are people here, you'll stay open until 1.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's not, you'll close at 11.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so keep that in mind. Let's make Jamie stay up late tonight. Come out to the bar and make Jamie stay up till 1 o'clock.
Perfect.
Tell us about the beers you have on draft.
We have a rice lager that was barrel aged. We have milk nitro stout, Italian Pilsner, honey wheat, a 2 1/4 ABV beer, which is a near beer. The Poco Loco Mexican lager with lime, horchata cream ale, and a Lunar Transit IPA. Finally,
Menu options, both the food truck and what you have to serve here. What can you share with our listeners?
We have paninis, chips, meat and cheese option, and the food truck is Fry Me to the Moon, and they have Navajo tacos, corn dogs, fish and chips, scones, etc.
Very nice. Well, look, great to see you again. Thanks for having us. We'll chat soon, okay?
All right, sounds good.
There's Jamie down here at Epic Brewing. Come on by and say hi. We're giving away 2-day passes to the Key West Music Festival, which is a country music festival that will be in the fall out of the fairgrounds. You can grab a free hockey puck in honor of the Mammoth game tonight. Home game for the Mammoth. They're taking on Vegas. It is the first ever Stanley Cup playoff game played in Salt Lake. It's a historic week when it comes to sports here in Utah. Wraps up tonight with the Mammoth. We'll catch a break. Happy Friday to you, weekend time. Congratulations, you made it, and we're going to send you off on your weekend the right way because it's time now for the ESPN 700 Festival of Tees, powered by the Utah Golf Association. Giving away rounds of golf to the best golf courses in the state. Listen to Sean every day from 11 to 2. Listen to me every day from 2 to 6 for your chance to win each day. From ESPN 700, details on ESPN700sports.com. We are sending people to Copper Rock today. Holy smokes. Text in to win 877-353-0700. Text your favorite historical Utah sports moments. You can be succinct. You can be short. We've had 2 of them this week, which is really cool. Lionel Messi on Wednesday in town with Miami, taking on RSL. And then in about an hour and a half tonight, the puck will drop at the Delta Center for the first ever Mammoth home playoff game. Now, if you do not have a place to watch that game, if you're not going to the game, you should come down to our good friends here at Epic Brewing. We've had a great time today. It's their brand new spot. It's beautiful. It's a huge patio. People are hanging out, having beers, playing cornhole, eating some food. Come on down. 825 South State Street. They're giving away free hockey pucks all night. And you can enter to win 2-day passes to the Red West Music Festival coming up in the fall at the fairgrounds, 825 South State Street. Our good friends at Epic Brewing, come on down and say what's up. All right, NBA playoffs. Kevin Durant is out. He is not playing tonight as the Houston Rockets will try to get back in the series against the LA Lakers. Our noted LeBron apologist and homer is the producer of this program. My question to you, Porter Larson, is now that it looks like the Lakers are going to be able to get past the Rockets, maybe get a little Austin Reeves action, maybe get a little Luka Doncic action with your boy LeBron, who has kind of settled in as this veteran facilitator. Are you willing to let your mind expand to something rather thought impossible with the Lakers' playoff run this year?
Yes. As you know, though, I have been one of the last people to jump off that bandwagon over the last several years, just because I think when you have not only one, but 2 of the best players on the planet, you've got a chance. And when it comes down to that, then we start getting into things like injuries. We started getting into things like, adjustments in series, which LeBron is as good at as anyone in the league. And now you look across the league, OKC starting to battle with attrition. Spurs might be without Wemby. Those are the 2 matchups, frankly, that I think are most problematic for the Lakers because of the center situation. So, yeah, I mean, the West is a little bit more open than it was even just a few weeks ago. And to be completely honest with you, I have thought the Lakers have had a chance to make a run all the way throughout the regular season and into the playoffs. I never really wavered in that. And, not saying they're going to go and win the title, but they're in that conversation. And I think that's just a result of having 2 of the best players on the planet.
There you go. So it should be a fun weekend. You have NBA playoff action. You have PGA Tour golf with the Zurich Classic going on. Stanley Cup action with the Utah Mammoth. RSL on a Sunday kick. Remember that against the Galaxy. So enjoy your weekend. Make it a good one. Porter, what comes our way on a Monday edition of the show?
As you mentioned, RSL in action on a Sunday. So we'll recap that when we get back on a Monday. We'll chat with someone from the Mammoth as well, recapping the first ever NHL playoff game in Salt Lake City. Tom Haberstroh will stop by for the NBA Daily Assist. And then once the NFL draft is completely wrapped up, our friends at Sumer Sports are sending someone to chat with us. So we're still filling a guest list together. But Tom Haberstroh, RSL, NFL draft, and we'll go from there.
There you go. Special thank you to Howard Beck, Adrian Denny, Craig Bolerjack, and Pablo Mastroni. Special thanks to our good friends at Epic Brewing at 825 South State Street. For any of the sound you missed, go to the website, ESPN700sports.com. Download the app, take us on the go. And then for what we do in our space, we're asking you to support 2 different podcasts right now. One is called The Drive with Spence Checketts. That is this show. The other is called Reality Check with Spence Checketts. That is my new project with KUTV. Go to your preferred podcast catcher, search those shows, subscribe, rate, review, say nice things in the comments, and give us all the stars. For Porter, I'm Spence saying goodnight. Of course, Tara, my on-site tech, will talk to you on Monday. And as always, you can catch all the action right here on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700.